after the heiress suddenly fainted. She woke up with a terrifying gift. She could hear everyone's thoughts. She turned to her tear-soaked first love, trembling before her, but the voice in her head was not sorrow. It was his complaint. Damn. Pretending to cry is exhausting. Why hasn't Wanwan come to comfort me yet? Back then, if she saw me like this, her heart would have shattered for me already. I've been gone for 5 whole years. Did she really fall for Mu Chen? I have to make her divorce him. Now, the Lin family's son-in-law can only be me. I will become the most powerful man in this city. Lin Wanwan's pupils shrank in shock. She could not believe those thoughts belonged to Zhou Zimo. For more than 10 years, he had always acted like fame and money meant nothing to him. Who knew his heart was packed with schemes? She felt this mind-reading was too absurd. Surely a hallucination caused by the head injury. But then, another voice rang out. Even if Wanwan and Mu Chen are legally married, the only one in her heart is still me. My years of effort haven't gone to waste. I must not lose my composure now. Now that I'm back, no matter what I ask for, Wanwan will obey me blindly. The wealth, the status, and the identity, everything she owns will be mine. Lin Wanwan closed her eyes tightly. Zhou Zimo's greedy thoughts pierced through her, leaving her unable to keep lying to herself. The blood in her veins felt like it had turned to ice. The man she loved for years had been scheming against her all along. Lin Wanwan snapped her eyes open in rage, staring at Zhou Zimo with a freezing gaze. Zhou Zimo was startled by this unfamiliar look, a flicker of panic rising in his heart. He grabbed her arm and asked softly, "What's wrong?" Lin Wanwan ignored him. Zhou Zimo's anxiety grew stronger. Just as he was about to press further, the doctor spoke up to remind them, "The patient needs absolute quiet right now. Family members, please be mindful." No sooner had the doctor finished speaking than when Shoujin yanked Zhou Zimo's hand away, tossing him aside with a look of disgust. Suppressing his annoyance, Zhou Zimo spoke gently, "Auntie One, I want to stay here and look after Wanwan." That's when I stepped forward with a calm expression, looking at him and asking coldly, "In what capacity are you staying to provide care?" "I am Lin Wanwan's legal husband. Taking care of my wife is my duty." "Who are you?" "But a complete stranger, although I've already decided to divorce her and distance myself from all this drama. Before the paperwork is finalized and I leave, I must vent the resentment from my past life." Zhou Zimo bit his lip aggrievedly, turning to Lin Wanwan with a pitiful look. In my memory, as long as Zhou Zimo played the victim, Lin Wanwan would never let anyone who bullied him off easy. But this time, Lin Wanwan remained expressionless, not even sparing him a second glance. Zhou Zimo nervously gripped the hem of his clothes, tears welling up in his eyes. Lin Wanwan finally spoke her first words since waking up. "I need some quiet rest. All of you, get out." She completely ignored Zhou Zimo's vulnerability, heartlessly ordering everyone to leave. Zhou Zimo's face turned pale instantly, unable to fathom why Lin Wanwan had become so cold. He could clearly hear her anticipation before boarding the plane, but now was clearly not the time to demand answers. Zhou Zimo wiped his tears and forced a bitter smile, his eyes filled with a hint of sorrow. "Then please, get some rest and recover. I'll come visit you again tomorrow." But inside, he was calculating viciously. "It must have been while I was abroad. That scheming bastard Mu Chen took his chance to move in. I knew he wasn't a good person, clinging to Wanwan like a damn parasite all day. It's absolutely repulsive. The only man fit to be Sister Wanwan's husband is me. Only by successfully marrying into the Lin family can I completely erase my humble origins." Lin Wanwan couldn't stand listening to these schemes any longer. She grit her teeth and growled through her rage. "Everyone, get out." Zhou Zimo sniffled aggrievedly and had no choice but to silently leave the room, his retreating figure looking utterly desolate. When Shoujin tucked in the blanket and whispered, "Rest peacefully in bed. Your father and I will be guarding the door. Call us if you need anything." Lin Wanwan nodded tiredly and closed her eyes. I couldn't have wished more to slip away quickly, but just as I was about to turn around, Lin Wanwan on the bed suddenly opened her eyes. "You stay. I lowered my eyes with a mocking smile, stepping slowly toward the bedside. Suddenly, only Lin Wanwan and I were left in the room. The noisy, calculating thoughts finally vanished, and Lin Wanwan's strained nerves finally relaxed. But this relaxation was a mistake. A piercing pain surged through her entire body. I looked at her with a flat expression and asked, "Do you feel any pain?" Lin Wanwan bit her lip and remained silent. I raised an eyebrow and sat in the chair by the bed. "If there's anything unusual with your body, it's best not to hide it from the doctor." Lin Wanwan's gaze was sharp, as if she were scrutinizing me. A faint smile played on my lips, but I said nothing. In my heart, I sighed to myself. We were husband and wife for 3 years, after all. How could I not see through your little schemes? Lin Wanwan frowned slightly, filled with confusion. Husband and wife for 3 years? Is he talking about him and me? But we just had our wedding yesterday. Do you want some water? Lin Wanwan gave a tiny nod. I stood up and walked to the water dispenser. Watching the flowing water, I gradually fell into thought. I finally did it. I can finally face Lin Wanwan with a heart as still as water. Does this mean I can finally let her go? Shake off the shackles of the past and try to embrace a brand new life. Actually, thinking about it calmly now, no one in this world is truly indispensable. No love lasts forever. It's time for me to move forward. I must not carry this obsession with Lin Wanwan into the new life I fought so hard to regain. I reached out and turned off the dispenser. With the cup and a cotton swab, I returned to the bed. "Your condition is special. You can't drink too much. I'll use the swab to moisten your lips." She gazed at me with a calm look. Though she found my inner thoughts strange, she could truly feel that I had once loved her deeply. This completely overturned everything she knew. She had always believed I married her, because the Mu family had fallen from grace, and I wanted to use the Lin family's power to climb up. There wasn't a shred of genuine affection. Thinking of my parentiesse who clung to the powerful, a flash of resistance flickered in her eyes, convinced that such a family couldn't raise a good person. But the current reality slapped her hard in the face. The man she believed loved her unconditionally was actually full of schemes and calculations behind her back. And the one she guarded against, thinking he was calculating, was the one who had loved her with all his heart. How ironic. I placed the cup on the nightstand and sat down. After a while, I couldn't bear to face her anymore. "I'll get a caregiver to look after you." Lin Wanwan's expression instantly darkened. "No, I'm not used to being served by strangers." I widened my eyes in shock, wondering if she had damaged her brain in the crash. After a long silence, I sat back down. "I've already discussed it with Aunt One. I'll take care of you until you're discharged. And once you're out, we'll process the divorce." After calmly saying the word divorce, my tense shoulders instantly relaxed. I felt an unprecedented sense of relief, as if the shadows of my past life had all vanished into thin air. Lin Wanwan remained expressionless. The word divorce didn't stir a single ripple of emotion. I lowered my head and stared at the hospital floor. A mocking smile flashed in my eyes. I was truly pitifully naive back then. In my past life, I naively thought that sincerity and unconditional companionship could move her. But she is cold and heartless to the core. The love she could give was meager to begin with, and she had given it all to Zhou Zimo. There was no love left for anyone else. The events of a past life. Lin Wanwan gradually noticed something bizarre. It seemed I had experienced a future no one else had. This completely exceeded her understanding of reality. In the past, she would have scoffed at this, but experiencing it now, she felt it wasn't impossible. She stared at me intently, without blinking. "We just had our wedding yesterday, and now you're so eager to divorce? Have you thought about the consequences and what people will say?" I kept my head down, ignoring her gaze, missing the complex emotions flashing across her face. "We can choose to keep it hidden for now, but there's no such thing as a secret that stays secret." What on earth does she mean by this? I'm the one asking for a divorce to end this. Shouldn't she be overjoyed and agree immediately? After all, she hates being forced into things. Being forced to marry me disgusted her, which made her despise me as a person. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, trying to dispel the terrible memories from from my mind. I looked up and asked her in confusion, "Don't you want to divorce me right now?" Lin Wanwan awkwardly avoided my gaze. "It's not that I don't want a divorce. It's just that now, in the spotlight, it's not the right time. It would cause trouble for my work and my life." I nodded in understanding. "All right. I understand your concerns." Lin Wanwan frowned in confusion. What exactly did he understand? She desperately wanted to know what I was thinking, but my heart was currently a calm sea, without a single ripple. Naturally, she couldn't find the answer she sought. "Get some more sleep while you can. When you wake up, I'll prepare something for you to eat." I stood up. Lin Wanwan hurriedly spoke up to ask, "Where are you going? Will I disturb your rest if I stay here?" I looked at her with a face full of surprise. Lin Wanwan coughed lightly and turned her head away. "You won't disturb me. If I'm not mistaken," she seemed to be feeling shy. Felt quite strange. Lin Wanwan's expression changed as she looked at me, suddenly giving me a fright. I tilted my head in confusion. "What's going on?" She pressed her lips tightly together and remained silent. I calmly sat down and checked my phone. Lin Wanwan was injured and exhausted. She fell asleep shortly after. Watching her with that faint, ambiguous intent left me feeling deeply unsettled. I got up and headed to the restroom. After coming out of the restroom, I saw Zhou Zimo standing by the wall. I wasn't surprised. Zhou Zimo spoke first. "Have you been complaining about me to Wanwan?" Whenever Zhou Zimo faced me, he never bothered to look me in the eye, as if he were always superior. His gaze always held a hint of contempt. That was the confidence Lin Wanwan gave him. I tossed my hair and said with a smile, "Why don't you guess for yourself?" Zhou Zimo began to lose his composure. "Mu Chen, get a grip on the situation. I don't want to be too harsh, but Wanwan and I are childhood sweethearts. If it weren't for Grandpa Cheng's interference back then, and his refusal to cancel the engagement, we would have been married long ago." I looked straight into his furious eyes and said with a smirk, "So what? So what if you're childhood sweethearts? The one who married her is me, after all. No matter how jealous you are, it's useless. You can only watch us be in love." In a way, other than Zhou Zimo himself, I'm the one who knows him best. I know exactly how to twist the knife. Sure enough, his breathing immediately quickened. "Mu Chen, how dare you say that? Do you really think Wanwan will stay with you? You have absolutely no self-awareness. Wanwan loathes you in her heart. Are you truly stupid? Or just playing dumb? Of course I know. I've seen through it all long ago. When I first met Lin Wanwan, we were both just children. I thought she was absolutely stunning and wanted to get closer to her. But her aura was cold and distant, radiating a keep-away vibe. I never dared to approach her. We didn't see each other again after that, until the year the high school entrance exams ended. Grandpa Lin invited me to the Lin residence. I learned she was my fiancée. In the bloom of first love, I fell for her, but I also knew she didn't like me, and even felt a strong repulsion toward me. Seeing me silent, Zhou Zimo felt much more relieved. A triumphant smile appeared on his face. "Wanwan is ruthless to those she hates. I'm telling you this for your own good. I suggest you get a divorce quickly, otherwise, you're in for a world of pain." Though he wanted us to divorce, his words weren't entirely wrong. I nodded, then said with disdain, "Don't think too highly of yourself. In the 5 years you stormed off abroad, people change. Just now, in the ward, you must have felt her indifference. You're starting to panic, aren't you?" As soon as I finished speaking, Zhou Zimo's face turned pale for a moment. How could he not be panicking? Lin Wanwan had never been this cold to him. I watched him and mocked. "There's no wall that can't be breached. I've put in a lot of effort over 5 years. Where on earth do you get the confidence to think she must have you, and that she'll always hate me?" Zhou Zimo opened his mouth to argue, but couldn't utter a single word. Seeing him in such agony, I felt my purpose had been served. I turned to leave. "Wanwan has loved me for years. She will definitely love me for a lifetime." I stopped and looked back. "Then I'll be looking forward to seeing how long that confidence of yours lasts. I will make sure Wanwan leaves you." Zhou Zimo clenched his fists tightly, his expression turning hideous. I let out a cold laugh and strode away without looking back. Arriving at the door of Lin Wanwan's ward, I didn't rush inside. I remembered how Zhou Zimo targeted me before, how he teamed up with Lin Wanwan to oppress me, plunging me into deep despair. It brought me immense pain. I suffered through every kind of misery. Now that I've been given a second chance, I can't just let it go so easily. But how should I strike back? A direct confrontation is simply not a wise choice. I don't want these two people to ruin my life once again. Heaven gave me a chance to start over, not to repeat the same mistakes, make them lose everything they have, give them a taste of their own medicine, and drag them down to the absolute bottom, setting aside whether I even have the capability. Even if I did, I fear that for the rest of my life, I would live only for the sake of revenge. Aside from this way of striking back, there is actually another option, destroying the relationship between them. But the moment I think about the process, I feel completely suffocated. Acting every day in front of people I loathe would be an absolute torture. After weighing it all in my mind, it's better to bury the hatred deep inside, cherish this second chance, and start a brand new life. Living a peaceful life would be far better. I convinced myself once more. Expressionless, I pushed open the door to the ward. Lin Wanwan was fast asleep. I went to the restroom for a quick wash, then came out and lay on the visitor's bed, preparing to get some proper sleep. I had been busy all day and hadn't rested well. This sleep was exceptionally deep. By the time I woke up again, it was already completely dark outside. I glanced at my phone, and my jaw dropped in surprise. It was already 5 a.m. "Are you well rested?" A woman's soft voice sounded in my ear. I looked up at her. "I feel all right." Lin Wanwan didn't say anything more. Silence returned to the ward. "Are you hungry?" "I'm a bit hungry." We both spoke almost at the same time. After that, we fell silent again. A flicker of irritation crossed my face. I threw off the covers and got out of bed. "I'll get you something to eat. You can only have some porridge right now, so don't you dare complain when I bring it back." I had to make it clear beforehand. Otherwise, once I brought the porridge back, Lin Wanwan would give me that look again. There was simply no need for that. Lin Wanwan gave a faint nod. I knew exactly what was happening. I put on my shoes and walked toward the door. I opened the door and stepped out. I saw Su Juchi standing by the window, and a smile instinctively appeared on my face. "Assistant Su, you're here." Su Juchi was clearly stunned for a moment. Then she lowered her head awkwardly. "Hello, sir," suddenly hit me. At this point, Su Juchi didn't know me yet. The smile on my face gradually faded, and I felt a twinge of regret. Su Juchi was Lin Wanwan's assistant. In the past, after I married Lin Wanwan, I gradually became close with her. Su Juchi was a kind person and sympathized with me. She took great care of me. I was deeply grateful to her, and always wanted a chance to thank her. But now that I've started over, I'm afraid there's no chance to be her friend. I can only keep this gratitude buried in my heart. I gestured with my arm toward the ward. "Wanwan is hungry."
Su Yikaki not that Genli.
"I'll go get the porridge right away." After Su Juchi turned and left, I casually opened my phone and saw a message from Lu Shubai. "How is Wanwan doing now? Brother Chun, are you doing okay?" Lu Shubai has been my close friend for years. Now that I've regained this chance, I've been resisting the urge to contact him, fearing that once I did, my emotions would completely break down. A person on the verge of collapse, once facing a trusted friend, will drop all their defenses and instantly become incredibly fragile. Just like right now, my nose began to sting uncontrollably. I took a deep breath, my fingers moving quickly across the keyboard. "Lin Wanwan is fine now. I'm doing great too. You don't need to worry about me. I'm going to school tomorrow. Let's talk then." "You're actually going back to school? You've finally come to your senses." I could feel his excitement even through the screen. I gave a faint smile and didn't reply further. I was a medical student in university. If it weren't for marrying Wanwan and dropping out at Wan Shoujin's request, I would have become a doctor, living a life that might not be brilliant, but is definitely fulfilling and valuable. I stuffed my phone back into my pocket, leaning against the cold wall, lost in thought. Su Juchi returned and saw me zoning out. She really didn't want to disturb me, but feared Lin Wanwan was starving and impatient. So she walked over. "Mr. Mu, I've brought the porridge." I snapped back to reality instantly, taking the insulated food container from her hand, and asked with a faint smile, Was this sent from home? It's porridge made by the madam herself. It's been kept at the nurse station, with instructions to deliver it once the young lady woke up. Su Juchi spoke with a hint of stiffness. She truly saw me as Wanwan's husband. Recalling my time at the Lin residence, the only person who truly respected me and treated me like a normal human being was Su Juchi. Holding the insulated container, I didn't rush into the ward, but instead asked Su Juchi with concern, "What time did you get here?" "Around 7 last night. I came over as soon as I finished my business. I can handle things here. Go and get some proper sleep." Faced with my sudden concern, Su Juchi frowned slightly, clearly feeling a bit uncomfortable. Yet, she replied very respectfully, "Thank you for your kindness, sir. The old madam ordered me to stay here, so I cannot go to rest yet." I noticed the expression on her face, realizing this was putting pressure on her. I could only nod helplessly. "All right then, I'll go in first." With that, I turned and entered the ward. The soundproofing of the ward door was poor. Inside the room, Lin Wanwan could hear the conversation outside. I pushed the door open and walked in. Lin Wanwan's expression shifted as she looked at me. I didn't notice it at the time. I walked over and placed the food container on the nightstand, opened the lid and poured the porridge into a bowl. Then, I sat calmly in the chair, preparing to feed Lin Wanwan. As I brought the spoon to her lips, she kept her mouth tightly shut, refusing to open. My eyes filled with confusion. "You don't want to eat? Did you know Su Juchi before?" Lin Wanwan's eyes flickered slightly. I pursed my lips gently, then replied naturally, "We don't know each other." Lin Wanwan's sharp eyes narrowed, like the calm before a storm. When she made that face, I knew exactly what was coming. I put the spoon back in the bowl and asked in a flat tone, "What did she do to upset you?" "I'm honestly tired of catering to you." Lin Wanwan opened her mouth slightly, then snapped it shut again. She knew that if she spoke her mind, I would definitely drop the bowl and leave, and I wouldn't even look back until she figured out what was going on. She didn't want me to escape her control. "Are you going to eat or not?" Seeing Lin Wanwan remain silent, I gradually grew impatient. Lin Wanwan had never been spoken to like this before. Her face immediately turned sour, but she took a deep breath and continued eating, as she truly was starving. One bowl was barely enough to tide her over. Seeing that she wanted more, I simply put the bowl down and said indifferently, "You can't eat too much right now." After all, Lin Wanwan wasn't a child. Since I had made my point clear, even if she wasn't full, she just had to deal with it for now. I tidied up the food container, took it and walked out of the ward, handing it over to Su Juchi. When I checked my watch on the way back, it was almost 6. I walked slowly back to her bedside, tucked the blanket tightly around her, then told her with a serious expression, "I have to go to school." Lin Wanwan raised an eyebrow slightly. "And the caregivers will look after you during the day. Will you come back after school?" I gave a slight nod. Since I promised Wen Xiuzhen to care for her until discharge, I would absolutely keep my word. I wouldn't just abandon her halfway. "Go on then." Lin Wanwan then closed her eyes. I needed to change my clothes before heading to school. Before the marriage, I was full of joy, moving everything into the new house. So, no matter how reluctant I am now, and how much I dread returning to that place of sorrow, I have no choice but to brace myself and go back. I took a taxi all the way to the front door. I entered and saw Chu Huilan inside. I raised an eyebrow in surprise. "Mom, have you been here all this time? I knew you'd come here after leaving the hospital. I want to have a proper talk with you, since there's still plenty of time, and I'm in no rush to get to school." I walked over and sat down without hesitation. Chu Huilan asked with a displeased look, "Are you serious about divorcing Wanwan? You've completely lost your mind." Chu Huilan slammed her teacup down, her face clouded with rage. "Do you even realize what a blessing it is to marry her?" I gave a bitter smile and replied, "If I hadn't fallen for Lin Wanwan, maybe that would have been the real blessing." Chu Huilan was stunned for a moment. "Now I finally understand what you meant. You always warned me not to fall for Lin Wanwan. In your eyes, as long as I didn't give her my heart and just married her as it was, I could live a happy and stable life forever." I reached out and took Chu Huilan's hand. "Your ultimate goal was for my own good, wanting me to never want for anything. Mom, I'm right, aren't I?" Chu Huilan's expression stiffened slightly. "You're overthinking this, child." As soon as she spoke, looking uneasy, she forcefully pulled her hand away from mine. I didn't feel upset. Instead, A hint of a smile flashed in my eyes. Pretending to be dead serious, I said, even if she refuses to give me money in the future, and conspires with Zhou Zimo to humiliate me, or even tries everything to ruin my reputation, just to force us to divorce, I'll just endure it all. How dare they do such a thing? Chu Huilan's eyes widened in shock, and she instantly flew into a rage. Though our Mu family isn't what it used to be, we still have our prestige. Moreover, our families have been close for generations. What right does she have to treat you like that? I let out a cold sneer, but her heart only belongs to Zhou Zimo. Once a woman is blinded by the man she loves, she can become completely reckless. All this talk of love is empty. A woman's love is the most useless thing of all. Chu Huilan gave a faint sigh, her eyes filled with hesitation as she asked, "Will these things really happen?" I nodded with absolute certainty. Lin Wanwan has always despised me. Now that she's forced to marry me for the sake of a will, she already loathes me to the core. If that's how it is, Chu Huilan looked down in thought for a moment, then continued, "If you're dead set on divorcing her, I won't stop you. But you need to be clear about one thing. Finding another woman of her caliber will likely be impossible. Marrying someone high caliber doesn't guarantee happiness. Besides, even if I stay single for the rest of my life, I can still make myself happy." I told her with a wide smile, "You're just talking nonsense. If you don't marry your father and I, forget it. Let's not talk about this." Chu Huilan was an incredibly strong-willed woman. That's something I only realized after my rebirth. The hardships she endured in her youth made her prickly and guarded. No matter what, she refused to soften her stance, fearing that a single moment of weakness would let suffering knock on her door again and deal her another crushing blow, leaving her in agonizing pain. When Mu Lihing married her, I was only a toddler. No matter how many nannies the family hired, they could never replace a mother's role. A child's dependence on their mother is instinctual. They cry uncontrollably when she's gone. But I heard from the old housemaid that I hardly ever cried as a child. At that moment, I sensed something. Only after pressing for answers did I learn that before I could even remember, Chu Huilan spent almost every day by my side, taking care of me most of the time. Anyone could see how much she adored me. But then, for some unknown reason, she suddenly became distant and cold. What exactly happened to make her make such a heartless decision? To this day, no one knows the reason. Later, when I turned 4, she gave birth to a daughter for Mu Liheng, my younger sister Mu Xiaobei. She wasn't close to her own flesh and blood either. At first, I thought she was naturally cold. Later, I believed she only cared for fame and fortune. But thinking back carefully now, if she truly only cared for status, when the Mu family's investments failed, and we nearly went bankrupt, why would she stay? She didn't even utter a single complaint. Although I don't understand why she did it, I know that in her heart, she loves this family. Having me and Xiaobei is enough. Xiaobei sees it more clearly than you do. Couldn't help but chuckle softly. Her laughter sounded clear and bright. She said I wouldn't be happy marrying Lin Wanwan. A look of shock crossed Chu Huilan's face. "When did she ever tell you that?" "Just 2 days before my wedding." "What does a brat know?" Chu Huilan let out a disdainful scoff. So young, yet always worrying about adult matters. Truly lacking discipline at home. I just stood aside with a faint smile. Seeing that it was indeed getting late, I rose from the sofa and reached out to massage her stiff shoulders. "I'll take you to a good hospital another day to get your frozen shoulder properly treated. I'm going upstairs to take a shower first, since I have to head to school soon." "You're going to school for classes?" Chu Huilan's expression shifted slightly. "Don't tell me you're not planning to drop out anymore?" I smiled and shook my head. If I weren't planning to divorce her, I wouldn't have dropped out in the first place. Chu Huilan's face instantly turned cold. She vaguely guessed the reason. "What exactly do you mean by that?" "When Shojin forced me to drop out." Recalling when Shojin's pressure back then, my expression darkened as well. Chu Huilan was instantly enraged upon hearing this. Her cheeks flushed crimson with anger. She pointed her finger right at my nose and yelled, "You useless, muddled fool. How could you not tell me about something this big? I thought you just didn't want to study. If you had told me sooner, I would have gone to the Lin family for an explanation. Who does when Shojin thinks she is to be so overbearing?" As soon as she finished, her anger still simmering. She picked up the coffee cup and hurled it at the TV. The LCD screen couldn't take the hit, instantly shattering into a spiderweb pattern. The coffee cup also smashed to pieces. Aunt Chun happened to come out of the kitchen, frozen in place by the scene. Chu Huilan glanced at her from the corner of her eye, letting out several cold sneers. There isn't a single decent person in the Lin family. It's for the best that you divorce her sooner. With your weak and gullible nature, you'll eventually suffer a great loss if you stay. Aunt Chun had been the Lin family's nanny for years, when Shoujin had specifically sent her here. On the surface, it was put beautifully, saying she was meticulous and caring, and could handle our daily needs. But in reality, she was sent to spy. The angry words Chu Huilan was saying now, Aunt Chun would surely report back, word for word, everything to that one Shoujin. Chu Huilan knew exactly what she was doing. She had said those things on purpose. This is all my fault. I clasped my hands tightly in front of me, bowing my head in a gesture of apology, just like when I made mistakes as a child. I hadn't dared to tell her back then, fearing she would go and cause a scene with the Lins, which would only make the Lin family more displeased. In my previous life, I never realized that having your own family supporting you makes a world of difference in your in-laws' house. Chu Huilan was fiery and not to be trifled with. Having grown up in a complex, remote area, dealing with a pampered lady like Wen Shoujin, who had been groomed to be proper since childhood, was simply child's play for her. If I'd had her backing in my previous life, my time at the Lin house wouldn't have been so miserable. I remember you used to have quite a temper. You were never someone to be messed with. How did you become such a coward? Seeing my aggrieved expression, Chu Huilan's tone gradually softened. I told you long ago not to fall for her, and I guarantee you'd have lived comfortably. You even got angry with me back then, as if I were some enemy trying to hurt you. You think love is useless? Then don't you love my father? I looked up and gazed at her quietly. You're still too young. Chu Huilan let out a soft sigh. For two people to build a life together, whether they can go the distance, can never rely on love alone. In fact, it might not even depend on love. Once you actually marry someone, you'll understand naturally after some time. Though I suffered countless hardships before my rebirth and tasted every kind of emotional bitterness, because I never truly built a life with her, I remained ignorant of the true meaning of marriage. I finally understand your kindness now. I blinked my eyes, looking a bit mischievous. I'll definitely listen to you more from now on. Faced with my sudden affection, Chu Huilan seemed very uncomfortable. She curled her lip awkwardly, answering coldly, though she didn't mean it. Don't you dare say that. I'm not your biological mother. Whether you listen to me or not is up to you. The smile in my eyes deepened. Even though you're not my birth mother, you still care so much about me. Who has the time to care about you? Chu Huilan waved her hand impatiently. Now hurry up and get going. I couldn't help but smile with joy. My eyes sparkled with a shimmering light. Alright, I'll head upstairs first. It's already getting quite late. I went upstairs and took a quick hot shower. I changed my clothes, grabbed the application, and left. There was only one driver at home, who, following Lin Wanwan in that car accident, had also suffered minor injuries and was recovering. I had no choice but to walk out of the villa area. I walked to the main road to hail a taxi. It was really hard to get a cab around here. After waiting a long time, I finally caught one. Once inside, I gave the destination. I took out my phone to message Lu Shubai. We agreed to meet at the university gate. He seemed to be trying hard to explain something. After a few words, that gentleman left. Hearing this, I immediately had a suspicion. I quickly pressed the driver for more details. What did the man look like? What color clothes was he wearing? The driver gave a brief description from memory. I was certain it was Zhou Zimo. What was he doing here in the middle of the night? I really couldn't figure it out, but I knew for sure he was up to no good. This guy is full of malice. I know this all too well from my past life. I turned to look at the scenery outside the window. A cold, mocking glint flashed in my eyes. Although I can't touch Lin Wanwan right now, making Zhou Zimo suffer a bit is definitely doable. The taxi came to a steady stop at the gate of H University. After paying the fare, I stepped out. I immediately spotted him crouching by the road. It was my longtime friend, Lu Shubai. He was wearing a casual tracksuit. His hair was slightly messy, blown by the wind. He looked as if he had just finished working out. He looked up and suddenly saw me. He jumped up from the ground in excitement and lunged at me like a madman. "Brother Chun, you're finally here." I froze on the spot, not daring to move. I crossed my arms over my chest in defense, but I still couldn't dodge his flying tackle. I was caught in a tight, crushing hug. "Brother Chun, it's been half a month. Do you have any idea how much I missed you? I thought after you got married, you'd completely ditched your brothers." His messy hair brushed all over my face. He wore a look of utter grievance. "This is punishment for avoiding me. You didn't even let me attend the wedding." My hand, about to push him away, froze in midair. Back then, to marry Lin Wanwan smoothly, when Shojin laid out a mountain of demands. Dropping out of school was just one of them. She also demanded I cut off all social ties. In the eyes of that snobbish Wen Shojin, all my friends were beneath her. They weren't fit for the status of Lin Wanwan's husband. I was blinded by so-called love at the time, and foolishly agreed to everything. I even heartlessly abandoned my friends, including my brother Lu Shubai. I still remember when I saw him in my previous life, the deep disappointment in his eyes. Later, when I fell into a desperate, isolated state and suffered immensely, it was purely my own fault. That wedding wasn't worth attending anyway. A wave of endless guilt surged in my heart. Even though he was choking me, I didn't try to push him away again. "Anyway, I'll be divorcing her soon." "Huh? What did you say?" Lu Shubai abruptly let go. His face was a mask of absolute shock. I gave him a playful wink. "Your ears aren't failing you. Once the injuries recover and I'm discharged, I'll go through with the divorce immediately." "Weren't you dreaming of marrying her?" Lu Shubai frowned in distress. He scratched his messy hair vigorously. "Wasn't marrying her your lifelong dream?" I shrugged non-committally. "That was back when I was naive and ignorant. But since marrying her, I've realized she's nothing special. Could it be she can't have kids?" A mischievous idea suddenly popped into my head. I deliberately pursed my dry lips, pretending to be hesitant and reluctant to speak. "Then you definitely have to divorce her." Lu Shubai shook his head in disbelief. I could never have imagined in my wildest dreams that Lin Wanwan had such a hidden ailment. Heaven really is fair after all. I nodded in strong agreement. "Exactly. That's how it works." With Lu Shubai's big mouth, the rumor that Lin Wanwan might be broken will surely spread across the city in less than a day. Consider this a small piece of revenge. In a great mood, I put my arm around his shoulder. "Come on. Accompany me to the counselor's office. I need to get my withdrawal application back. My main mission from now on is to steadily finish the remaining 3 years of college and live a normal, quiet, and ordinary life." "Brother Chun, why on earth did you drop out back then?" "It was all because of that woman Wen Shojin. Otherwise, she never would have agreed to our marriage." My voice was laced with heavy sarcasm. He looked up at my cold profile and, sensing the mood, started cursing her loudly. "I knew that woman was behind this. Otherwise, why on earth would you drop out? A great guy with your qualifications. What could she possibly be dissatisfied with? Am I that qualified?" I pointed to a guy making a poster nearby. "That's Yi Hui, the eldest son of the Yi family. Now that's what Wen Shojin calls good qualifications. Simply put, it's all about the family background. It's superficial to the extreme." I just let out a faint smile and didn't bother responding to his grumbling. Isn't that just how cruel society is? No matter how outstanding you are personally, if your family background is lacking, you're still inferior in the eyes of the Lin family. Calculating it this way, in my past life, even if Zhou Zimo successfully entered the family, even with Lin Wanwan's endless affection, with his meager background, his life would never have been easy. Enduring cold shoulders and contempt every day, that feeling is truly agonizing. Thinking about it this way, I suddenly felt much more relieved. I walked quickly to the counselor's office. Just as I was about to knock, the door was pulled open from the inside. The man inside suddenly saw me. His calm expression instantly shifted. "Why are you suddenly here? Didn't you already drop out?" Couldn't help but laugh out loud. The man standing before me was no stranger. He was Zhou Zimo's younger brother, Zhou Qiang. Speaking of this guy, Zhou Qiang, he's truly a wonderful brother to Zhou Zimo, coveting his own brother's woman all day and secretly sabotaging him relentlessly. His behavior is practically legendary. Dropping out doesn't mean I can't re-enroll. Lu Shubai grinned at Zhou Qiang. Now that Mu Chen is back, you won't be the star anymore. Does that make you feel miserable? Zhou Qiang stared at him with gloomy eyes. I wasn't talking to a loudmouth like you. Stop trying so hard to get my attention. Don't you think you're lowering your status? I don't care about status. Either way, you're inferior to my brother Chen in every way. Getting desperate and stabbing people in the back, that's low. When did I ever play dirty behind anyone's back? Lu Shubai let out a contemptuous sneer. You know exactly what you've done. Last month in anatomy class, Chen's rabbit was sabotaged. It must have been your doing. A flicker of panic crossed Zhou Qiang's eyes. Stop making baseless accusations and slandering me. I wouldn't stoop to such filthy tricks. You need evidence for your claims. It was definitely you. I didn't. I quickly interrupted their endless bickering. Looking at him with a smile, I spoke. I'm not interested in your meaningless arguing. Zhou Qiang, you're blocking my way. Would you mind moving aside? Zhou Qiang stared at me, eyes wide. He had absolutely no intention of moving. I know this guy all too well. Ever since I stepped foot into this university, just because I'm Lin Wanwan's fiancé, he's been after me like a mad dog. If he doesn't cause me trouble for a single day, his twisted heart finds no peace. Like this tense moment right now, he definitely wants to sting me with some cruel words. The kind where he won't stop until I'm hurting. Just as I expected. A few seconds later, Zhou Qiang attacked.
Mu Chen.
If you stayed home and focused on pleasing Sister Lin, you might have actually won her heart. But now you've decided not to drop out, and my brother has already returned to the country. I suspect you'll be preparing for a divorce very soon. He knows exactly how to twist the knife in my heart. In my previous life, these words would have felt like a knife twisting in my chest. But now I'm completely indifferent. Therefore, instead of seeing a face twisted in pain, he saw me flash a row of perfectly white teeth and give him a chilling, sinister smile. Does saying that make you feel better? What do you mean? My unexpected reaction left him stunned. You've always had a crush on Lin Wanwan. When you said I spend my days pleasing her, wasn't your own heart bleeding? I suddenly reached out and gripped his jaw, shaking his face vigorously from side to side. I clicked my tongue and continued contemptuously. Your looks aren't that much worse than your brother's. Aren't you the least bit resentful? Your brother can force her to divorce me, so why do you think you can't? Zhou Qiang's expression changed instantly. He violently slapped my hand away and screamed, Mu Chen, stop talking nonsense. I never had a crush on Sister Lin. Look at how hypocritical you are. You love a woman but dare not even admit it. It seems in this life you'll only be able to stand aside and watch your own brother and the woman you love be all lovey-dovey right in front of you. My words were intentionally malicious. I didn't treat Zhou Qiang like a normal human being. I used the bluntest knife to carve into his weakness. I want him to live in agony every single day, letting his delusions bloom even earlier than in my past life. Before I finalize the divorce with Lin Wanwan, I must personally cause some serious trouble for Zhou Zimo. Shut your mouth. Zhou Qiang's eyes had turned bloodshot, his chest heaving, his breathing becoming heavy. This is absolute nonsense. I shrugged indifferently, my face screaming, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Zhou Qiang was on the verge of a breakdown. He shot me a look of pure hatred, then turned and hurried away from the scene. Brother Chen, does Zhou Qiang like Lin Wanwan too? Lu Shubai grabbed my shoulder, curiosity written all over his face. I knew he was a gossip at heart, but now wasn't the time to reveal too much. I gave him a calm down gesture, then turned and entered the counselor's office. Back when I insisted on dropping out, the counselor had tried everything to stop me. Only when he saw I was dead set on leaving did he reluctantly and regretfully agree. Now that I've suddenly changed my mind and want to stay, he is naturally thrilled. After all, losing such an outstanding medical student would have been a heartbreaking tragedy. After a few stern warnings from the counselor, he let Lu Shubai and me head back. As soon as we were a short distance from the office, he looked up at me, eyes sparkling. Brother Chen, come on. Spill it. I can't stand the suspense anymore. Tell me the whole truth right now. Haven't you figured it out already? Zhou Qiang has indeed been pining for Lin Wanwan. A slight smirk played on my lips, a smile dripping with mockery. He's loved her since they were kids, but in her eyes, there was only ever Zhou Zimo. Until I said those words just now, he believed that as long as his brother was worthy of her, he could just protect her silently from the sidelines. How do you know so much about this? Lu Shubai was completely stunned by this revelation. I simply smiled mysteriously and said nothing. He was smart enough not to press further. After struggling to process this shocking gossip, he asked a somewhat slow question. Why did Zhou Qiang think that way? Before you said those things? And what about after? Now, he'll be consumed by resentment. He'll start wanting to fight his own brother for her. I'm provoking the deepest desires in his heart. I pulled the locker key from my pocket, twirling it around my finger with a look of pleasure. Now Lu Shubai completely understood. A mischievous grin immediately appeared on his face. Brother Chun, you're still as cunning as ever. I raised an eyebrow and looked at him. For a moment I saw the Mu Chen from high school. He bumped my shoulder hard, letting out a silly chuckle. You were so wild and arrogant back then, full of spirit and refusing to bow to anyone. Too bad you started playing the good boy in college. It's honestly so boring. The smile on my face gradually faded. Mu Liheng's biological mother, who is also my grandmother, was from the north. In his youth, he often returned to the north with her, staying for several months at a time. That's why his personality was so bold and unrestrained. Plus, he wasn't exactly the brightest. He lived happily and carelessly for all those years. Otherwise, a failed investment wouldn't have wiped out the Mu family's years of hard work in an instant. I inherited some of that temperament, and since they had very low expectations of me, I completely let loose once I hit high school. To put it bluntly, I was a student with great grades, but who was seen as a delinquent by the teachers. As for why I forced myself to change in college, becoming a rule-following good boy, it was, of course, because of Lin Wanwan and Wenshoujian. I quickly snapped out of the memories of my past life, murmuring in a flat, low voice, if she hadn't been in my world, how magnificent would my previous life have been. Brother Chun, what were you whispering just now? Lu Shubai hadn't heard me clearly and asked with a face full of curiosity. I gently shook my head, saying it was nothing. From now on, I will live as my true self. I gripped his warm hand firmly, and the two of us walked briskly toward the classroom. I've been smart since I was a child, picking up everything much faster than others. I scored exceptionally high on my college entrance exams. When choosing a major, my parents told me to follow my heart. Among the many popular options, I chose medicine without a second thought. The path of medicine is arduous and long. Mu Liheng had explicitly expressed his disapproval. I simply insisted that I loved it and stubbornly stuck to my choice, without revealing the real reason. The real reason was for my biological mother's passing. It wasn't entirely to save more people, or to prevent more ordinary families from breaking apart, but to accumulate merit and pray for my departed mother. Her life was far too short. I hope that in her next life, she can be safe and smooth, living a peaceful and stable life. After a whole morning of major courses, there were no classes scheduled for the afternoon. Lu Shubai hadn't hung out with me in a long time, so he excitedly invited me to go shopping. I still need to go to the hospital to take care of Lin Wanwan. After telling him the situation truthfully, the two of us agreed to go out together another day. I left the school and headed straight to the hospital. Upon arriving at the hospital building, I had just gone upstairs and was heading toward the ward when I ran into Wenshoujian coming out. Wenshoujian was visibly stunned when she saw me, then spoke with an extremely complex expression. "You've actually got some nerve, kid." I was completely bewildered by her words. "What? Before you married Wanwan, she actually disliked you quite a bit. Who would have thought that after just one night? She doesn't hate you as much anymore. Am I wrong to say you're capable?" Her words were dripping with hidden meaning. I frowned and remained silent. In the past, I always acted obedient in front of her. No matter how she deliberately made things hard for me, or how harsh and cruel her words were, I would just nod and bow, never talking back. Although I've become much more assertive since my rebirth, she clearly hadn't fully adjusted to it yet. Seeing me standing there in silence, she thought I was too afraid to speak up, and became even more emboldened in her sarcasm. As expected, a son raised by that woman is the same kind of trash to the core. Since she was pushing her luck and refused to stop, I didn't plan on indulging her anymore. Wenshoujian, if you're sick, go get treated. I didn't even want to call her mom, out of courtesy anymore. My expression instantly turned ice cold. You're technically part of the Lin family, yet you talk like some street thug. Aren't you afraid of dragging down the Lin family's reputation? These words were truly harsh. She clearly didn't expect me to show her no respect and say such nasty things to her face. For a moment, she stood there frozen in shock. Once she finally snapped out of it, her face turned a livid shade of purple with rage.
Mu Chen.
How dare you speak to me like that? Even if you and Wanwan are getting a divorce, you shouldn't call me by my full name. I am, after all, your elder. I think you're the one with no upbringing, bringing shame to your ancestors. She relied on her powerful maiden family and was lucky enough to marry into the Lin family, although she had always been spoiled and domineering, like a prickly hedgehog, stabbing anyone who displeased her. Few people usually dared to clash with her head-on, so the insults she could come up with in an argument were only at this ridiculous level. Hearing her bring up my ancestors, couldn't help but laugh out loud. Fine. Calling you by your name was my mistake. How about I call you Auntie One from now on? Auntie One. Just how heartless are you? Your own daughter is lying inside in pain, and you don't even know if she'll have brain damage. Instead of worrying about her health, you're wasting time here trying to annoy me. If you're really that bored, you'd be better off playing a few rounds of mahjong. Mu Chen. You are absolutely out of line. I rolled my eyes without any care for my image, too lazy to deal with her further. I stepped aside and pushed open the ward door, shouting loudly inside, Lin Wanwan. Your mother is completely unreasonable. I don't want to fight with her over this, so let's just have a nurse take care of you. Even if when Shoujin had fought me to a standstill, she never would have imagined I'd do this. She was practically driven insane with rage. She reached out and shoved my shoulder hard. You actually dare to complain to my daughter? Who the hell do you think you are? Wanwan. Look at this piece of trash. He has zero respect for his elders, actually calling me a street thug and saying I'm dragging down the Lin family's reputation. I can't stand this for another day. I'm calling the Civil Affairs Bureau right now. You two must divorce immediately today. Well, that's just wonderful. I clapped my hands excitedly. I really can't thank you enough. It's so great to have a powerful mother-in-law. I don't even have to go to the bureau myself for a divorce. That's just so convenient. Please, hurry up and do it. One hopeless love brain and one hot-tempered menopausal woman. I can't stand this mother-daughter pair for one more day. On the bed, the veins on Lin Wanwan's forehead throbbed. She radiated a terrifying aura of hostility. Countless men in this world wanted to marry her. Any man who could marry her would probably wake up laughing in his dreams. But this treasure that everyone coveted was being so blatantly rejected by me. This dealt a massive blow to her arrogant pride. How could she possibly swallow this insult? It's for the best that you agree to the divorce. When Shoujin pointed her finger straight at my nose, fire burning in her eyes, threatening me with a fake smile. Once I get the people from the bureau here, if you dare to backtrack or make a scene, I'll make sure you pay dearly for it. Neither you nor the Mu family will end up well. I responded with a hypocritical fake smile. Whoever backs out of this is a puppy. It's a deal. As soon as she finished speaking, she hurriedly opened her handbag, preparing to take out her phone and call someone. Mom, I told you only Grandpa can decide my marriage. Lin Wanwan stared intently at the ward door, her gaze becoming dark and menacing. Whether I divorce him now is entirely up to me alone. Stop interfering in this. Wanwan, if you don't divorce him now, how much longer do you plan to wait? When Shoujin was utterly bewildered, her eyes turning red with rage, a flicker of irritation crossed Lin Wanwan's face. I said, stay out of this. I'm going to interfere in this mess. I won't have a son-in-law who's so beneath us. Besides, haven't you always liked Zhou Zimo? He's already back in the country now. Shouldn't you be eager to finalize the divorce so you can marry him with honor? Fine, I'll divorce him today and get the marriage certificate with Zhou Zimo tomorrow. Lin Wanwan said coldly, her face expressionless. Absolutely not. When Shoujin blurted out almost instinctively, her precious daughter should marry someone of equal status, a man with a powerful background and excellence of his own. What are Mu Chen and Zhou Zimo compared to that? Not only can they provide no help to her, but they might even become a heavy burden in the future. Lin Wanwan let out a chilling sneer. So this is what her mother had been thinking all along. No wonder she was heartless enough to do that back then. Since you won't agree to me marrying him anyway, why rush to divorce now? Lin Wanwan turned her head wearily, staring blankly at the ceiling. Tell Mu Chen to get his ass in here and see me. Wanwan, take my advice. Stop wasting your breath. Lin Wanwan coldly interrupted her, her tone cold and devoid of any emotion. When Xiuzhen glared at me with a face full of resentment, then turned and stormed off in a rage. I stared intently at her angry, retreating figure, looking thoughtful. In my previous life, my world revolved only around Lin Wanwan. I never noticed such an obvious blind spot. A woman with a dominant personality like Wen Xiuzhen. Yet she could never be firm with her own daughter. It's as if she just does whatever her daughter says. Is it simply because she loves her daughter too much? But she is, after all, Lin Wanwan's biological mother. If she truly made up her mind to cause a scene, Lin Wanwan would likely have to compromise in the end. This is strange no matter how I think about it. My inner confusion was heard clearly by her. My mind was entirely focused on speculating about his inner thoughts. This made Lin Wanwan's mood exceptionally complex. She coughed lightly, attempting to draw my wandering attention back. I snapped out of my reverie instantly, turning my head in confusion to look at her quietly. Get in here now. I did as she said and walked in, stopping only when I reached the bedside, pulling over a chair and sitting down. Why not take this chance to divorce me directly? Just as when Xiuzhen didn't understand. I myself was equally bewildered. There's no why to it. You and Zhou Zimo have always loved each other. Since you want to marry him with honor, your mother's opposition will be useless. That's why I don't understand. In my previous life, if I hadn't clung to her desperately, I'm afraid that on the first day he returned, you would have rushed me to the divorce court. How could we have been entangled in resentment for 3 years? If we divorce immediately after the wedding, it will severely damage the reputation of the Lin family. Therefore, we absolutely cannot divorce in the short term. Before Rebirth, this woman dreamed of divorcing but couldn't. After Rebirth, the one dreaming of divorce is me. Life is truly full of ironic drama. I cannot let this drag on any longer. We must divorce as soon as you are discharged. As expected, she's also been reborn. There really are such mystical things in this world. You've probably forgotten that during our wedding, only our immediate families were present. Even the media didn't know we were married, because you deliberately hid the marriage. The world still thinks you are single, so our divorce will not affect the Lin family at all. No secret stays hidden forever. Then I need a definite time frame. Exactly how much longer until we can divorce? At least 6 months. 6 months is absolutely out of the question. Cannot wait that long. Then how long do you want? Divorce immediately after you're discharged. 1 year. Why are you starting to raise the price now? I'll just tell you the truth. I already have someone I truly love, so I'm rushing the divorce to be with him. I don't believe a word of your nonsense. I have no reason to lie to you. If you can accept me messing around during the marriage and willingly be cheated on, then I'll reluctantly do as you say and wait 6 months to finalize the divorce. I can accept that. What can you accept? This heartless ingrate has finally found religion. So now you're a saint, eating vegetarian and saving all beings, huh? Fine. You said it yourself. Since you can accept even that, I have nothing else to say. If you say we wait 6 months, then we'll wait 6 months. But first, I have 3 rules. During this time, I will move back home. We each live our own lives. Unless there's something important, let's not meet again. That is completely fine. It was time for lunch. 10 minutes later, I walked in carrying an insulated lunchbox. I sat down expressionlessly and opened it. I brought a spoonful of hot porridge to her lips. Maybe my hand slipped on purpose. A lot of the porridge spilled onto her neck.
Mu Chen.
Those 2 words seemed squeezed from deep in her chest, barely holding back a massive rage. I quickly stood up with panic all over my face. I pulled a few tissues from the box on the cabinet and frantically wiped her neck. As I wiped, I kept apologizing. I'm really sorry. I really didn't do it on purpose. Please don't get angry. So you were messing with me on purpose just now. Now that you can't move, you're completely at my mercy, aren't you? Lin Wanwan heard my thoughts clearly. She felt the tissue soaked with sticky liquid slowly move toward her delicate face. Her face turned as dark as a burnt pot. There is no porridge on my face. There isn't? I'm so sorry. I thought there was. Mu Chen, Are you tired of living? I know Miss Lin is powerful and influential. Anyone who offends you ends badly. But you can't be so cruel just because I accidentally spilled some porridge. You're not gonna kill me for that, are you? Lin Wanwan let out a cold laugh. I absolutely can. Then wait until you can move before saying that. For now, just endure it obediently. I coldly sneered right back without holding back. Lin Wanwan glared at me fiercely. A blood-red fury rose in her eyes. Clean my entire body, then change me into a clean set of clothes. I can't do that job. I'm a hot-blooded young man. Doing something like that wouldn't be appropriate, would it? I'll go find someone else to change you. This time, Lin Wanwan was truly furious. For once, anger appeared on her usually icy face. Absolutely not. It has to be you. If you don't clean me up today. With a loud bang from the door, before Lin Wanwan could finish her threat, I had already walked quickly out of the ward. Lin Wanwan painfully squeezed her eyes shut. She felt every blood vessel in her body tighten with rage, as if they might burst at any moment. In front of her and when Shojin, I had always acted gentle and obedient. I looked completely harmless. But now that she saw it clearly, that had definitely all been an act. This brat was definitely not easy to deal with. After an unknown stretch of suffering, just as the sticky feeling pushed her to her limit, the ward door finally opened. Hurry up, Lin Wanwan urged in an anxious voice. Miss, please bear with it for a moment. I'll go get a wet towel from the bathroom first. The hoarse voice from the doorway made her freeze. She stiffly turned her neck to look. A woman who looked over 50 was hobbling toward the bathroom. No one knew where I had found her. The woman looked messy and unkempt, wearing an old, outdated work uniform. It was even stained with many suspicious marks. Letting a woman like this wipe down her body felt worse than just putting her out of her misery. Get out right now, Miss. Mr. Mu told me what happened to you. I feel deeply sorry for your situation. You can rest assured. I definitely won't laugh at you. Do you know who I am? Does it matter who you are? Never heard of you. Mu Chen, that damn bastard. Lin Wanwan took a deep breath. Then she closed her eyes in despair. Seeing this, the woman immediately strode over. The process of being wiped down was pure torture for her. I put on an act and yawned. The person I found is pretty good, right? Very good. Before I leave the hospital, I'll have to trouble you to take considerate care of me. To my surprise, she did not explode in rage this time. Instead, she acted extremely calm. Only when she bit out the words considerate care did they sound like they were being forced through her teeth. Otherwise, I might really have thought she wasn't angry at all. I narrowed my eyes dangerously, a trace of vigilance appearing on my face. This woman has a seriously vicious mind. Who knows what she's scheming inside? Once she can move again, she might take brutal revenge on me. But since I've already burned every bridge, and there's no escaping her revenge anyway, I might as well strike while she's vulnerable. Lin Wanwan suddenly felt that her current situation wasn't much better than a tragic joke. She tried to move her arms slightly, but a piercing pain made her gasp for air. Moving on her own was out of the question. Realizing how pathetic her state was, she licked her dry lips and suddenly asked, Mu Chen, do you still love me? I let out a cold sneer. What do you mean? Do I still love you? I never loved you in the first place. The answer was blunt, without a shred of hesitation. Neither my expression nor my tone showed any sign of insincerity. Even without hearing my inner thoughts, she could tell that for me, there wasn't a single shred of affection left. This realization dimmed the light in Lin Wanwan's eyes. She didn't actually feel that heartbroken. It was more of a lingering regret. While I hadn't noticed at all, a sincere feeling had quietly vanished. A long silence fell between us. Lin Wanwan spoke in a raspy voice. If I marry Zhou Zimo, will we be happy? Probably. I don't think so. I wouldn't know. Do you need anything else? Lin Wanwan shook her head. Then get some sleep. I'm going to take a nap as well. I walked over to the companion bed, took off my shoes and lay down. Closing my eyes, I felt her staring at me. Lin Wanwan's gaze was irritating. Why does she keep staring at me? Is there something wrong with her? Just as that thought crossed my mind, Lin Wanwan turned her head away. My furrowed brow slowly relaxed, and soon, I fell into a deep sleep. Hearing my breathing steady, Lin Wanwan knew I was fast asleep, and she looked at me once more. In Lin Wanwan's eyes at that moment, I looked incredibly striking. I had never been in her sight before, but now she realized how handsome I actually was. Sharp features, an outstanding aura, strong lines, and a striking face. I was truly captivating. In terms of looks alone, I was definitely no less than Zhou Zimo. Perhaps her gaze was too intense, because I felt uneasy in my sleep. I frowned and let out a soft groan, then tossed and turned. Lin Wanwan gave a faint smile, and then closed her eyes as well. I slept until 4 in the afternoon. Waking up to an open door, I felt confused. I turned to see Lin Wanwan lying there, still deep in her slumber. I slowly sat up from the bed, put on my shoes, and walked out. I saw Su Juchi standing nearby, and a smile immediately lit up my face. "When did you get here?" "Just a little while ago." Su Juchi was naturally reserved and rarely smiled, but facing my friendly smile, she managed a stiff, awkward smile. "The nurse said to open the door for some air, so I opened it." "I see." I knew I couldn't act too close to her, so I prepared to head back inside. "Sir, I ran into young Master Zhou on my way here. He was on the phone downstairs just now. I'm not sure if he'll be coming up." Su Juchi didn't actually need to mention this. In fact, she shouldn't have, but perhaps feeling my kindness, she hesitated but told me anyway. I was momentarily stunned, then I gave a faint smile. "It's fine. If he wants to come up, let him. He has his own 2 legs. No one can stop him from going anywhere. No one can control where he goes. But President Lin might mind." Su Juchi didn't dare be too blunt, so she could only warn me subtly. "You might feel hurt later." I smiled and shook my head. "I won't. I've long since grown used to it." Her words left Su Juchi speechless, so she chose to remain silent. Just as I was about to say something more, a woman's cold voice drifted from the room, tinged with a hint of irritation.
Mu Chen, I'm Festi.
I instinctively rolled my eyes, then nodded with a smile to Su Juchi, and stepped back into the room. The woman on the bed glared at me. I figured she just had a bad case of morning grumpiness, finding everyone an eyesore, so I didn't think much of it. I poured a glass of warm water and brought it to her. "Are you and Su Juchi close?" Lin Wanwan's eyes flickered slightly. She had already asked similar questions. A flash of irritation crossed my face. I set the glass down and answered coldly, "Not close." "But you don't look like you're not close." Lin Wanwan let out a cold sneer. "Does she always have to meddle in my business? Why does she suddenly care about me and Su Juchi? Care whether we know each other, or whether we're actually close? Is she really that bored right now?" Well, this woman is indeed very bored, but it's honestly quite annoying. Hearing the complaints in my heart, Lin Wanwan's already grim expression worsened. Not a single word in my heart was kind to her. Hearing too much of it was bound to make her unhappy. "You think we look close?" "Because I intend to be nice to her." I wore a hypocritical smile. "Why? Why else would a man be nice to a woman?" "Of course, it's because I've taken a fancy to her." The curve of my lips deepened, carrying a thick sense of malice. "Can't you accept me cheating on you? A woman with a mindset like yours doesn't deserve my loyalty. I'll take this chance to betray you even more. Since we're playing a thrilling game, I must pursue the ultimate thrill. I'm determined to drive you crazy with rage." As my inner voice faded, Lin Wanwan's face turned completely ice cold. Although she knew I was deliberately provoking her, and that these thoughts weren't sincere, she was still infuriated. The look in her eyes was deep and freezing, a gaze that seemed bottomless. I couldn't help but feel a slight jolt of alarm. A chill instantly crept up my spine. As the helm of the corporation, Lin Wanwan possessed the powerful aura of a superior. When she was angry, even without any expression, or even saying a single word, it was enough to instill fear in anyone. I had witnessed her methods before my rebirth, and I was actually afraid of her. If not for the rage filling my heart, and the fact that she's currently immobile, I wouldn't dare offend her like this. "You've become much bolder than before." I smiled with a hint of wickedness. "Keep it up." I pressed my lips tightly together. Should I stop provoking her? Otherwise, once she recovers and leaves the hospital, I won't even know how I met my doom. Lin Wanwan listened quietly to my inner thoughts, the smile on her face turning mocking. Revenge against her. This man certainly has a wild imagination. "You must be thirsty by now. Have some water." I hurriedly picked up the water glass, trying to soothe Lin Wanwan's anger, lest she plot some elaborate way to ruin me. Lin Wanwan gave a faint smile, a slap followed by a sweet date, as if that would work. "You're overthinking it." "I don't admit it." Lin Wanwan let out a cold laugh. "Just Just as she was about to speak and intimidate me, the sound of leather shoes echoed from outside. I guessed it must be Zhou Zimo coming up. I immediately pressed the glass to Lin Wanwan's lips. "Darling, let me feed you some water." My sudden change in behavior stunned her for a moment. Then she saw Zhou Zimo walking into the room and instantly understood why. Of course, she wouldn't play along with my act unless she had suddenly become a saint. "Get away from me. Stay far away," Lin Wanwan said with a cold face. This response was entirely expected. I wiped the fake smile off my face, straightened up, and shrugged indifferently. I sighed with hostility and said loudly, "You still hate me this much. Let me do it." Zhou Zimo walked over quickly, took the glass from my hand, and looked at Lin Wanwan with a gentle expression. Her words just now put him at ease. It seemed my bluffing yesterday was for nothing. Lin Wanwan had only ever had eyes for him, and would never spare a glance for another man. How could she possibly change her heart so suddenly? Moreover, a young guy like me is completely not her type. His worries were truly unnecessary. But even so, he had to make Wanwan divorce as soon as possible. He had waited too long for this day. He simply couldn't wait any longer. It was time to bring Lin Wanwan into his home. As long as he showed her a little kindness, everything he wanted would soon be his. Whatever Zhou Zimo was plotting, Lin Wanwan heard it all clearly. She looked at the man she had loved for years, her eyes filled with bone-deep disappointment and disgust. Turned out the Zhou Zimo she once saw was only the version he wanted her to see. So fake it's terrifying. Lin Wanwan hates being deceived most of all, especially when this is more than just a lie. This man dreams of marrying her, yet he keeps pretending he has no feelings for her, playing a game of cat and mouse, treating her like a complete fool. Zhou Zimo saw that Lin Wanwan wouldn't drink the water, nor would she utter a single word. She just stared at him with cold eyes. He couldn't help but start to panic. "What's wrong?" Lin Wanwan lowered her gaze. Her long eyelashes trembled slightly. "I don't want to drink anymore." "Then what would you like to drink? I'll go buy it for you. Okay?" Zhou Zimo blinked his innocent big eyes, asking softly as if coaxing a child, "Buddy, can you have some common sense? Besides water, what else can she even drink right now?" I sprawled on the nearby sofa, letting out a lazy, wide yawn. "Seems you're still too amateur. You finally came back after 5 years abroad. If you fed her poison, she might have swallowed it gladly." My intention to drive a wedge was too obvious. It was practically written all over my face. A surge of anger rose in Zhou Zimo's heart, but since he was in front of Lin Wanwan, he had to force himself to endure it.
Mu Chen.
"I know you dislike me very much. Actually, I can understand that. But you're married to Wanwan now. I hope you both can live happily. You really don't need to hate me this much. With which eye did you see me hating you?" I find his words absolutely ridiculous. "You're not even worth my hatred." Zhou Zimo's expression changed instantly. No one had ever dared speak like this in front of Wanwan. Who does Mu Chen think he is to be so arrogant? The reason Zhou Zimo found this so hard to accept was because Lin Wanwan had spoiled him in the past, giving him a strong sense of superiority. Simply put, he was just riding on someone else's coattails. He actually thought he was something special. I didn't care at all how he would react. What I cared about was Lin Wanwan's reaction. If Lin Wanwan flew into a rage because of this, threatening that I'd pay dearly for it, I'd immediately surrender and apologize, but I would never clash with her head-on. But if she only gave me a few casual reprimands, then I'd keep pushing the boundaries, determined to make Zhou Zimo so miserable he couldn't sleep. Lin Wanwan stared at me with flickering eyes, seeing right through the little scheme in my head. She let out a very faint sneer. "Mr. Mu speaks with such arrogance. I wonder who gave you such confidence." "Can't I speak if I don't have confidence? The mouth is on my own face. I'll say whatever I want to say. Does that have anything to do with confidence?" My attitude was incredibly bold, enough to make someone's teeth itch with frustration. "Indeed, it's your freedom to say whatever you want." Zhou Zimo's eyes reddened slightly. He glanced at me and then lowered his head. I gave a cold snort, mocking him loudly with a face full of disdain. "Thank you, Mr. Zhou, for being so understanding. In the future, if I say things that are even uglier, I hope you can still be so forgiving." Lin Wanwan saw Zhou Zimo for who he really was. Naturally, she wouldn't speak up for him anymore. She half-closed her narrow eyes, planning to let it all be, focusing on listening to the inner thoughts of the two men. Seeing that she hadn't scolded me for a long time, Zhou Zimo looked up at her. Lin Wanwan remained motionless. Zhou Zimo bit his lip hard. He reached out and grabbed Lin Wanwan's arm, saying softly with a pale face, "Let it go. Mu Chen is still young and doesn't understand much. It's only natural that he'd say harsh things since he dislikes me. He didn't say anything wrong, right?" A strong sense of disgust spread. Lin Wanwan's deep black eyes were filled with frost, like thousand-year-old ice that would never melt. In Zhou Zimo's past memories, the way Lin Wanwan looked at him was always gentle. When had she ever looked at him with such coldness? He widened his eyes in disbelief. His face instantly turned a frightening shade of pale. Resentment and sadness emerged in his eyes. "Why are you looking at me like that? I'm not in a very good mood." Lin Wanwan shifted her gaze away from his face. "Both of you stay quiet." Zhou Zimo bit his lower lip. "Are you still angry with me? Angry that I left for 5 years, and didn't even come back to see you once? You're overthinking it. Wanwan was beyond happy when you left. Otherwise, she wouldn't have agreed to marry me. She was even so passionate on our wedding night. I couldn't help but interrupt. I'm honestly disgusted to the core. I just had to interrupt right when Zhou Zimo was trying to have a heart-to-heart. Words that could still throw him into such chaos. You want to have a heart-to-heart and share your feelings? If I let you succeed today, I'll write my name backwards." Lin Wanwan found it somewhat amusing. As she chuckled, Zhou Zimo's heart sank completely. Any further self-consolation would be pure delusion. Lin Wanwan might have truly changed her mind. Otherwise, she would never let me act so brazenly before her. Thinking about the lost chance to enter the Lin family, Zhou Zimo grew incredibly anxious. He unconsciously clenched his fists. He looked at Lin Wanwan with a heartbroken expression. "Is everything he said true? I don't believe it. He must be lying, right?" Seeing him suffer like this gave me an immense sense of satisfaction. A platter of fresh fruit sat on the coffee table, filled with peeled grapes. I grabbed a handful, popping them into my mouth one by one, looking completely triumphant. Though I don't know why she's so cold to him, this is absolutely perfect for me. By the time she recovers and leaves the hospital, I'll make sure Zhou Zimo worries himself into losing 10 kilos. I kept calling her that woman in my head. Lin Wanwan's forehead veins began to throb. She didn't want me to be this smug. She looked up at Zhou Zimo and gave him the first smile since they met. "Of course it's not true. I knew it." Zhou Zimo instantly burst into tears of joy. "I truly regret it. I should never have gone abroad. Otherwise my expression soured. Even the grapes in my mouth didn't taste sweet anymore. I tossed the remaining grapes back and stood up. "I'm going to the restroom," as expected of the man Lin Wanwan loved for years. It's not as easy as saying you don't love him anymore. I really don't know how she could love a man like him, whose heart is more scheming than a dragon fruit is seedy. How on earth did she fall for him in the first place? To be so blind and devoted for all these years. With her taste in men, it's a miracle the Lin Corporation hasn't collapsed.
Mu Chen.
Lin Wanwan's angry voice called out from behind. I stopped in my tracks. I turned around, looking completely bewildered. Zhou Zimo also looked at her in confusion. Lin Wanwan took a deep breath, trying to suppress the fire raging inside her, but she failed in the end. "Use the restroom outside," Lin Wanwan roared in a low, loud voice. She couldn't let anyone know she could hear inner thoughts, so her outburst now would just make her seem crazy. I was speechless. Is she getting angry at me for Zhou Zimo's sake? Her reaction time is ridiculously slow. Her brain must have been damaged in the crash. For the first time, Lin Wanwan felt this mind-reading ability was absolutely terrible and maddening. Unless she were an emotionless block of wood, she'd eventually fall ill from sheer rage. I continued my inner rambling as I walked out of the room. Only when I was far enough away, and Lin Wanwan could no longer hear my thoughts, did her furrowed brow finally relax. "In the 5 years I was away from you, I missed you so much. With me, the nuisance gone." Zhou Zimo planned to pour his heart out to her again. Lin Wanwan was in a foul mood. She gave a cold, indifferent living alone in a foreign land, living all by myself. I realized how much you protected me. I finally understood that only you can make me happy. Zhou Zimo pursed his lips, looking as if he wanted to say something but hesitated. "Do you have feelings for Mu Chen? What kind of feelings are you referring to? Lin Wanwan gave him a sidelong glance. Love, of course. Two people must have love to get married, right? Only with love can one find happiness. At least half of what he said was wrong. He said this intentionally. His goal was to awaken the Wanwan who once believed he was the only one for her. Back then, Lin Wanwan was certain that marrying him would bring her happiness. I truly don't love him. Lin Wanwan's expression remained flat. A flash of joy appeared on Zhou Zimo's face. Just as he was about to speak, Lin Wanwan suddenly twisted the conversation. But I'm quite interested in him right now. Does that count as feelings in your eyes? The moment the words left her lips, the color drained from Zhou Zimo's face. Realizing she might not love him was one thing, but hearing it with his own ears was another. Sister Wanwan, are you serious? Zhou Zimo's throat felt like it was filled with sand. His voice sounded incredibly raspy. This blow was fatal to him. The woman who had always been devoted to him, admitting her interest in another man. This was more painful than losing everything. Lin Wanwan nodded coldly, completely shattering his last shred of hope. How he wished he had misheard. Or maybe Lin Wanwan was just speaking out of spite. Unfortunately, none of that was the case. Lin Wanwan was dead serious. Why? Zhou Zimo tightly gripped the ornament on his bag. Aren't you? You want to ask if I don't love you deeply anymore? Lin Wanwan interrupted him ruthlessly. The sarcasm in her eyes couldn't be more obvious. But you've always been rejecting my love. Does it even matter if I love you or not? I'm interested in Mu Chen, which should be irrelevant to you too. So why are you even asking? Don't you find it strange? I just didn't want you to get it too easily. I wanted you to feel that me marrying you was something you had to fight and beg for. That way you'd learn to cherish me and keep your focus entirely on me. Only then, in your presence, and within the Lin family could I truly hold my head high. But I really didn't expect that your love for me was this fragile. I went abroad to build my credentials and returned, only for you to take an interest in another man. One wrong move and the whole game is lost. Zhou Zimo took a deep breath. He violently yanked the tassel off his bag, struggling to regain his composure. Can I just regret it now? Lin Wanwan's eyes were deep and freezing. Zhou Zimo's inner thoughts left her with nothing but profound disgust. He actually dared to try and control her all along. What audacity! What sheer ambition. The inner thoughts she heard while in the restroom were ugly, but they were absolutely correct. Her taste in men was simply abysmal. I see. Lin Wanwan's reaction was as flat as still water. The things she once longed for could now be hers with a simple snap of her fingers. Yet, she remained completely unmoved. Your regret is your own problem, but for me it's already over. So, I'm truly sorry. She was practically telling him there was no chance left. Seeing years of planning go down the drain, Zhou Zimo's emotions instantly shattered. Lin Wanwan, you really have no heart. His face was suddenly drenched in tears. Anyone would feel pity seeing a man weep. But once Lin Wanwan loathed someone, no matter how handsome or charming they were, they couldn't stir a single ripple in her heart. She didn't respond, whether she didn't want to, or simply couldn't be bothered. But either way, she was pushing his emotions to the breaking point, driving him further into despair. You clearly loved me so deeply before. Why don't you love me anymore? Zhou Zimo wiped his tears as he sobbed. His accusing tone sounded like a wrong child. You big liar. You said you'd wait for me forever. Lin Wanwan remained indifferent. She glanced at the wall clock. It's been 15 minutes since I went to the restroom. Did this man sneak away? Lin Wanwan's gaze grew dark. If this man dared to run away, he shouldn't blame her for being ruthless. You know, I'm the type to warm up slowly. Plus, I was too young back then. I was naive about matters of the heart. But now I am absolutely certain. I love you too. I fell for you long before I even realized it. Zhou Zimo had no idea she wasn't listening. He continued his sobbing lament with absolute sincerity. I lingered in the restroom for a while. Took a call from Lu Shubai, which is why I'm a bit late getting back. Just as I reached the door of the ward, I heard a man's muffled sobbing inside. I pushed the door open with a smile. Mr. Zhou, please don't cry in front of my wife's bed. People might think she's passed away. Zhou Zimo's sobbing stopped abruptly. He turned around, glaring at me with pure hatred. It must be this ungrateful bastard. He must have used some dirty, underhanded trick to bewitch Wanwan's mind. He's probably been bad-mouthing me behind my back. Otherwise, how could Wanwan, who loved me for so long, suddenly stop loving me? She must still have feelings for me. Wanwan must still love me in her heart. I definitely still have a chance to turn this around. All my years of effort cannot be in vain. Zhou Zimo's inner thoughts irritated Lin Wanwan and filled her with a deep sense of rage. Her love for him had been nothing but a pawn in his calculations. To be played like a toy for all these years was an utter humiliation for someone as proud as her. Don't look at me with those eyes, scaring me. I don't know what happened in those 15 minutes between the two of them, but judging by the current situation, things have definitely fallen apart. If I don't stir up some trouble now, when will I? Darling, I'm practically scared to death by him. I rushed to the bedside, squatted down, resting my chin on the edge of the bed, looking up at Lin Wanwan with a pitiful expression. The way she looked at me, it was like she wanted to eat me alive. I mean, is it really that serious? Why is she so angry? It's honestly unbearable. Lin Wanwan glanced sideways at me. Her lips twitched almost imperceptibly. With a personality as provocative as mine, did she actually do anything to me in our past life? Lin Wanwan didn't quite understand it yet. Once you truly fall in love with someone, it's like exposing your weakest point to them. If the person you love decides to hurt you one day, you're the one who handed them the knife. If the love wasn't so deep, who would ever give someone the chance to hurt them?
Mu Chen.
That's enough. Zhou Zimo's rage surged to his head. He pointed his finger at my nose, absolutely livid. You're doing this just to provoke me. How am I provoking you? Don't go accusing an innocent man. Everything I'm saying is the truth. You know exactly what's between me and Wanwan. What do I know? I interrupted him without hesitation, playfully sticking out my tongue. I just turned 20 this year. You and Sister Wanwan are already 26. Back when you two were close, I hadn't even graduated from middle school. How could I possibly know what was between you? Brother Zhou, I know you like Wanwan, and Sister Wanwan used to like you too. But we're married now, but it's okay if you want to be together. After all, if she can accept someone like me, I shouldn't be too stingy, right? I can allow you to meet occasionally or whatever. What kind of nonsense are you talking? Listen to what he's saying. You're telling me you're interested in a man like this? I simply cannot believe it. Zhou Zimo roared in anger. I'm only 20, not some 26-year-old old geezer. I'm just a boy, not some mature man or uncle. I retorted with a grin. This feels so satisfying, making you absolutely miserable with rage. Whether Zhou Zimo was actually miserable remains to be seen, but he's definitely about to explode. His body swayed slightly. He squeezed out 2 words through gritted teeth.
Mu Chen.
What is it, uncle? Oh wait, I mean Brother Zhou. Why are you calling my name so excitedly? I blinked my large, innocent eyes, putting on a face of pure innocence. Compared to him in his state of blind rage, my look is definitely more likable. Even Zhou Zimo himself felt that way. He realized he must look hideous right now. He took a deep breath, barely managing to compose his expression. Then, he glared at me and asked,
Mu Chen.
You really love playing the victim, don't you? Playing the victim? I tilted my head in confusion. Brother Zhou, what does playing the victim mean? I don't quite understand. Zhou Zimo let out a cold laugh. He looked down at Lin Wanwan. He says he doesn't know the word, but you should know it very well, right? Lin Wanwan's prestigious family background and her 1-in-a-million beauty meant she was always surrounded by men. But in the past, she only had eyes for him. She always coldly rejected men who threw themselves at her. But there had been exceptions. During Lin Wanwan's high school years, a classmate of hers was quite cunning. He actually managed to gain some of her favor. After finding out, Zhou Zimo got close to that guy. He discovered the guy was a typical manipulative man. So, he explained the situation directly to Lin Wanwan. Explaining in detail what a manipulative man is, Lin Wanwan had always listened to him. And since then, she had detested that type. Therefore, this was his most powerful counterattack. Unfortunately, the current Lin Wanwan is no longer the one who obeyed every word and did everything exactly as he wanted. Lin Wanwan gave me a faint glance. Then she looked at Zhou Zimo and asked, Is that so? Zhou Zimo's body jolted. His expression became unnaturally distorted. Brother Zhou, I was just joking with you. Of course I know what that means, but I'm not playing the victim. I'm playing cute. I tapped my chin with my index finger. finger, with a flirtatious smile. Acting cute for the woman who loves me, she'll definitely love me even more. Why wouldn't I do something so beneficial? Wanwan doesn't like you at all. Zhou Zimo roared fiercely. I know very well that Lin Wanwan doesn't like me, so even if they're having a conflict right now, Lin Wanwan is sulking with Zhou Zimo. Lin Wanwan is throwing a tantrum with Zhou Zimo. I won't help her, but I'll cooperate to annoy him. After all, it'd be embarrassing to lose the bet. Therefore, my mind raced, and I came up with an airtight line. I'm quite thick-skinned. Even if your Wanwan doesn't like me, I'll just pretend she does. I really am a genius. Brother Zhou, though you're getting a bit old now, and acting cute doesn't really suit you, but there's no other way. To win my wife's affection, you should still give it a try. My wife might not say anything, but deep down, she might actually love it. My words were as malicious as they could be, as infuriating as possible. Calling her wife over and over made him boil with rage. If it were anyone with less self-control, they would have exploded in a rage by now. But Zhou Zimo was calculating after all. Otherwise, he wouldn't have made Wanwan fall for him. So he knew that given the current situation, it was impossible to turn the tables. His grip on his bag loosened slightly as he forced a strained, ugly smile.
Mu Chen,
You're still far too naive. A man's charm isn't just about being cute, but that's fine. I will prove to you exactly what kind of man is best for her. I shrugged indifferently. This attitude was more infuriating than any words. Fearing he'd be driven mad if he stayed, he looked at Lin Wanwan, pale-faced, and said, I'm not feeling well. I'll leave first. I'll visit you again tomorrow. As the words fell, he received no response from her. In the past, the moment he mentioned feeling unwell, Lin Wanwan would have become incredibly anxious, treating him like a fragile infant. Even during the 5 years he was abroad, whenever he felt unwell, she would arrange for someone to take him to the hospital, caring for him with meticulous devotion. But now, she was completely indifferent. If this isn't a lack of love, what is? Zhou Zimo's eyes reddened, unwilling to let his dignity be trampled further into the dirt. Without another word, he turned and left. Such frustration. Have all those years of effort been in vain? Can I really not enter the Lin family? I simply cannot accept this. Absolutely not. I cannot give up this easily. With my background, marrying a woman of such status is incredibly difficult. Lin Wanwan is my only remaining hope. As long as there's a shred of hope, I'll cling to it. Otherwise, I'll remain a nobody. Lin Wanwan lowered her eyes, listening to his inner thoughts, a flicker of deep mockery crossing her gaze. He wanted to use her to escape his lowly status. That had been his sole purpose from the very beginning. Poor her. Her sincere heart had been betrayed. A mistake that lasted for so many years. It's getting late. I should head back too. I have classes tomorrow. Zhou Zimo is gone, so there's no need for me to keep acting cute. My sharp features returned to a cold, distant expression. Your ability to switch faces is so fast. It's a waste you're not in the theater. A visible smile curved Lin Wanwan's lips. She seemed to be in a very good mood. She had fallen for Zhou Zimo back then. First, because he was indeed cunning, and second, because he was exactly her type. And I am the complete opposite of him. But for some reason, the more she looks at me, the more she likes what she sees. She even finds my infuriating manner cute. Lin Wanwan felt she must be going crazy. Is it because of my tragic inner thoughts? Because she knows I once loved her deeply? She couldn't figure it out herself. She only knew that until she understood what I've been through, she would never let me leave her side. If you dare to listen, I dare to perform, I replied expressionlessly. As long as the appearance fee is 30 million per show. Lin Wanwan couldn't help but burst out laughing. You certainly have a lot of nerve asking for that much. You're the one who dared to eavesdrop, so why shouldn't I dare to ask for it? I stood up, intending to brush off my clothes and leave. Let the nurses take good care of you tonight.
No.
Lin Wanwan didn't disagree because she missed me, but because she feared I'd drag more people from the psych ward. Recalling that madman from this afternoon, she still felt a bit unsettled. I frowned slightly, just as I was about to snap back at her, when Shojin walked in from outside. I lamented in my heart. What a day. I just saw Zhou Zimo off, and now here comes Shojin. I may be a fighter, but even I've run out of steam this late at night. Seeing me with my backpack, ready to leave, when Xiuzhen questioned me with a frown. Are you planning to leave already? I gave a cold nod. It's too late. My mom will worry if I don't go back. Give me a break, when Xiuzhen sneered. Your stepmother would actually worry about you? She's probably hoping you never come back, so no one competes with her own son for the inheritance. If you can't say anything useful, just be quiet. The Lin family is wealthy and powerful. They certainly aren't missing a single thread. I couldn't be bothered to argue with her. With that, I slung my bag and walked straight out. When Xiuzhen had learned her lesson this time, she didn't try to stop me. After I left the ward, when Xiuzhen hurried to the bedside, placing the insulated food container on the nightstand. Sweetheart, Mom made this chicken soup for you personally. The car accident damaged your health. You must nourish your body to recover. Drink a few more bowls in a bit. Lin Wanwan nodded indifferently, without saying a word, as when Xiuzhen poured the soup into the bowl. She quietly observed her expression. After pouring, she said casually, I ran into Zimo downstairs just now. His eyes were all red. Did you two have a fight?
No.
Then why would he dash? I know what you're trying to find out. Lin Wanwan interrupted her, her gaze calm and rippleless. I said that besides Grandpa Lin, no one can decide my marriage. And as for my emotional affairs, no one has the right to question or decide them. The more she spoke, the sharper her gaze became. When Xiuzhen choked up, wanting to speak but not daring to. In the end, she could only sigh helplessly. Then she fed Lin Wanwan 2 bowls of soup, packed her things and left. Su Juchi was standing right outside the door. When Xiuzhen walked past her, then stepped back, her eyes full of scrutiny. Assistant Su, you've been standing outside this whole time. Do you know if Zimo was inside? What happened between the 3 of them? When Xiuzhen leaned in close to Su Juchi, whispering in her ear, Su Juchi's eyes flickered slightly, and she gently shook her head. President Lin instructed me that when others are present, I should keep a distance from the ward. So, I know nothing. When Xiuzhen clicked her tongue in dissatisfaction, her expression turning sour. But Su Juchi was, after all, Wanwan's person, so she didn't dare be too rude. She could only turn and leave in a huff. I left the hospital and went straight home. Chu Huilan was sitting on the living room sofa, wearing a face mask and watching TV. Hearing the door open, she turned around. Seeing that I had returned, she peeled off the mask she had just applied. Why are you back so late at night? Over there, it's just me and the aunt. I'm scared living on the 2nd floor by myself. I placed the keys on the entryway shoe cabinet, walked into the living room and sat beside her. Besides, nowhere is as comfortable as home. Chu Huilan glanced at me sideways, letting out a cold snort. Even if you plan to marry into their family, and then divorce Lin Wanwan, running home just 2 days after the wedding, people will talk if they find out. I don't care what others say about me. I grabbed a grape from the fruit plate and popped it in my mouth, leaning back on the sofa in complete contentment. Even if no woman wants me in the future, I couldn't care less. Spending my whole life with you all is exactly what I want. Stop talking such nonsense. Chu Huilan glared at me with annoyance. Say one more word and I'll kick you out, and you can take care of yourself. I gave a nonchalant smile. You'd really have the heart to kick me out? I wasn't born from your womb after 10 months of pregnancy, so why would you be reluctant? If these words were said before my rebirth, I would have been very upset and held a deeper grudge against her. But now, not at all. I swallowed the sweet grape and stood up from the soft sofa. You already guessed I'd come back tonight. Otherwise, there wouldn't be grapes on the coffee table. Mom, you're always saying one thing but meaning another. Sooner or later, it'll come back to haunt you. Chu Huilan let out a scoff. My biggest loss was not sending you away sooner, wasting so much of the family's food for nothing. I chuckled. I'll keep eating for free for many more years, so you'll just have to suffer through it. Just as I finished, as soon as the words left my mouth, I bounded happily upstairs.
Mu Chen,
when are you moving your things back? Chu Huilan stood up and shouted at me. I stopped my steps on the stairs and looked back down. I plan to move tomorrow. Could you help me contact a moving company? Do I owe you from a past life or something? Chu Huilan shouted in annoyance. I knew she would definitely help me, so I headed upstairs with a grin. Back in my long-lost, cozy room, I took a deep breath. The scent of lavender filled my nostrils, letting my tense nerves finally unwind. Before my rebirth, I rarely came back after marriage, but every time I did, the room was spotless, filled everywhere with the scent of lavender. Even when I stayed away for ages, she would still clean my room regularly. Unfortunately, I wasn't very bright in my last life. I noticed it but never stopped to wonder why. I let out a soft sigh, walked over to the large wardrobe, and reached out to open the door. Inside, clean pajamas were neatly folded. I smiled to myself, took the pajamas, and headed into the bathroom. Once my nerves completely relaxed, an irresistible wave of sleepiness hit me. Fearing I might fall asleep in the tub, I gave up the idea of a relaxing soak, took a quick hot shower, and stepped out. I lay down on the soft bed. I let out a comfortable sigh of relief. This feels amazing. Studying in the prime of my 20s, hanging out with friends in my spare time, living happily just to make myself happy. Isn't that 100 times better than revolving around a woman whose mood dictates everything? Those who have tasted the bitterness of life won't want to taste a single drop of it again. That's exactly the state of relaxation I'm in now.
I rolled over.
Thinking about what I needed to do at school tomorrow. And as I thought, I drifted into a deep sleep. The next morning, as I got up and went downstairs, I saw Chu Huilan on the phone. I didn't go over to disturb her. I stood there and listened quietly for a moment. I could tell she was coordinating with the moving company. I turned around and poured a glass of warm water. Once she hung up the phone, I immediately handed her the glass. "Mom, you've worked so hard." Chu Huilan shot me a glance, probably because she was in a decent mood today. She took the glass without saying a word. My eyes darted cleverly. I reached up and gently massaged her shoulders. "Mom, I need to do clinical practice at a hospital. Do you know anyone working in a hospital? A doctor or anyone would do. It's much easier when you have an inside connection." Chu Huilan half closed her eyes, clearly enjoying my massage service. My stomach had been acting up a few years ago. I saw a doctor at Tongha Hospital. Despite being quite young, their skills were truly impressive. After visiting many times, I gradually became acquainted with her. Later, I got her private contact info. We've kept in touch on and off over the years. I can ask her about the situation for you. That would be wonderful. I knew Mom had the best connections. No matter where she goes, she makes useful friends. I now know exactly how to handle her. Just play along and flatter her, and everything is easy. No matter how tsundere her personality is, faced with such flattering words, she's too embarrassed to snap back at me. She just glared at me and said nothing more. After a hearty breakfast, I headed out and took a ride to school. I left quite early today. Once I arrived, I messaged Lu Shubai. He said he had just woken up, so I had to head to the classroom first. I walked in and found our usual seats had already been taken. A strange girl was sitting in the chair. I'd never seen her in class before. As I walked past her, I curiously glanced at her a couple of times. Unexpectedly, the girl suddenly looked up. Our eyes met. I gave an awkward nod. "Hello." The girl's face was cold and indifferent. Without a word, she looked back down. Now, I wasn't just awkward. I felt like a total outsider. I frowned slightly, though I felt a bit annoyed. There was no point arguing with someone so rude, so I said nothing and sat a few seats away from her. After putting my bag down, I took out the thick anatomy book, reviewing the material from the last lesson. I'm the type who focuses easily when reading, rarely distracted by outside noise, so when the surroundings became noisy, I felt the disturbance and looked up. The classroom was already packed with students. I was instantly left stunned, since I didn't recognize a single person in the room. My brain reacted pretty quickly. Took only 2 seconds to realize I was in the wrong class. I immediately grabbed my books and bag and headed for the door. Isn't that Mu Chen from the medical department? What is he doing in our class? Looks like Xiangzi walked into the wrong room. My lip twitched slightly. I quickened my pace even more, although I've kept a very low profile since starting college. My grades are outstanding, and I'm quite good looking.
Plus, Luxube keeps praising me everywhere.
It's actually hard not to be famous. I bolted out of the classroom in a slight panic. I glanced back at the room sign and scolded myself harshly in my head. I slept perfectly fine last night and woke up full of energy this morning. How could I possibly end up on the wrong floor? I checked my watch as I headed upstairs. Only 2 minutes left until class started. I rushed upstairs as fast as I could. Finally, just as the piercing bell rang. I made it exactly to the classroom door. The professor at the podium glanced at me, simply waved for me to hurry inside, and prepared to start the lecture. I scanned the room for Lu Shubai. I searched and found Lu Shubai. I walked quickly and sat down beside him. Chen, didn't you get to school ages ago? Why are you only entering the classroom now? Lu Shubai leaned in and whispered in my ear. Don't even mention it. I just walked into the wrong classroom. I was too focused on my book to notice. I propped up a thick book on the desk to hide myself, keeping my head down, looking completely miserable. Lu Shubai couldn't hold it in and burst out laughing. I gave him a stern look, sending a warning with my eyes. Seeing that I was genuinely upset, he tried his best to suppress his laughter and stopped making any more moves. Our whispering was a bit too loud. The old professor looked over at us, stopped lecturing and gave a heavy cough. The classmates followed his gaze and looked our way. Now look at that. Now he got a taste of embarrassment too. Both of us instantly behaved and started listening intently to the lecture. As the class was drawing to a close, I caught a glimpse of someone walking past outside. Though it was only a fleeting moment, I'd recognize that person even if they were ashes. It was Zhou Zimo. Why on earth is he at H University? I frowned and stared outside for a while. The bell finally rang. I quickly packed my bag and dragged Lu Shubai out of the classroom. I just saw Zhou Zimo. What's going on? Zhou Zimo? Lu Shubai looked completely shocked. Is he back from abroad? I didn't tell him the news yesterday because I didn't want his overthinking brain to start imagining things that aren't there. And secondly, I feared he'd demand to settle the score with Zhou Zimo. Ever since he found out I liked Lin Wanwan, and that Lin Wanwan liked Zhou Zimo, he's found Zhou Zimo absolutely insufferable. Every time they meet, he has to snap at him. But because Lin Wanwan protects him, he never gets the upper hand. Instead, he's left simmering with rage. Now, if I dare to nod and admit it, he'd probably tear this place apart looking for him. Calm down first, don't get excited. Lin Wanwan isn't there to protect him now. So don't be in such a rush to settle the score. How can that be? If you get your revenge, I need mine too. You know exactly what happened in the past. The things he said about me were hideous, and all the rumors spreading about me were all secretly spread by him. He's just jealous of my family background, thinking that someone with my personality and lack of ambition, relying only on family, could be held in high regard and given opportunities. He thinks the world is unfair. Lu Shubai actually has a knack for reading people. His analysis of Zhou Zimo's psychology was spot on. No way. Lu Shubai. I'm impressed. I stared at him with a scrutinizing gaze, as if it were the first time I'd met him. I really underestimated you before. I thought you were just a simple, happy, airheaded rich boy. Get away from me. He pretended to be angry and raised his hand, giving my shoulder a light slap. Why are you becoming as annoying as him? Alright, I was just joking. I gripped his hand tightly. If you were really as simple as I said, how could you have possibly gotten into H University? You just choose not to overthink many things. Your heart is just simpler, that's all, which is actually a good thing, and he absolutely loves hearing that. He pouted at me arrogantly, then he broke into a wide grin. I'll give it to you, you've got a way with words. I'll barely forgive you for teasing me. Seeing him so happy, I gave his shoulder a squeeze. I wanted to know what he was here for. Help me find out what's going on. A little digging is all it takes. Lu Shubai glanced around. He just passed through here. Let's see who knows the inside story. Hey, Fanjiro, come over here for a second. A girl standing against the wall nearby glanced over at us, then slowly strolled over. Shubai, why are you calling me? Fanjiro looked completely exhausted. I was right in the middle of a nap. All you do is sleep all day. I'm asking about someone. A man just walked down the hallway. Did you see where he went? Fanjiro opened her eyes slightly, stayed silent for a few seconds, then slowly said, he was holding an employment form, probably a new teacher. He must have gone to the principal's office. He's coming to H University to teach? Lu Shubai's eyes widened in disbelief. No way. He's not fit to be a teacher. He studied abroad. Why on earth isn't he fit? I looked at him with pure disdain. That school he went to abroad. Anyone with money can get in. Who knows how much he paid back then? Now he's back in the country to teach. He really thinks he's something, doesn't he? The more Lu Shubai spoke, the more indignant he became. He finished and strode toward the stairs. It was obvious he was going to cause trouble. I quickly reached out to stop him. Shubai, don't be so hasty. Even if we don't go looking for him, he'll come find us sooner or later. He turned back to me, looking confused. How do you know? Yesterday, I made him lose face in front of Wanwan. Now that he's at H University and has become a new teacher here, he'll definitely want to use this chance to turn the tables and give me a little lesson while he's at it. I curled my lips slightly, a confident smile on my face. I know him very well now. Lu Shubai has always trusted me. Seeing how certain I was, he pouted and gave in. Fine. I'll trust you just this once. Let's wait for him to deliver himself to our door. The next class is about to start. I gave Fanjiro a polite smile. Thanks a lot. We'll head back to class now. Fanjiro nodded lazily, raised her hand to pat his shoulder, then walked back to the wall and dozed off. Lu Shubai watched her and muttered under his breath. She's really strange. She just loves sleeping against a wall. I wonder if she can actually fall asleep like that. Either it's a habit no one understands, or she has some ulterior motive. I lowered my gaze and looked at him with a meaningful expression. Lu Shubai, maybe it's time you started dating? Fanjiro is indeed a unique personality. She's always been a loner at school. At first, I wondered how someone so withdrawn could be so close to him. Later, I heard she's the daughter of the fan group chairman, specifically Fan Ming's daughter from another relationship. Fan Ming was in a severe car accident. His wife and daughter were also in the car. In the end, she was the only one saved. After she woke up, he had her called to his bedside. The meaning was obvious. It was from that moment on that she began passionately pursuing Lu Shubai, and she did it with all her heart. That's why I said what I did. Why is your talking so disjointed? He looked at me with a strange expression. Also, I told you a long time ago, I don't want to get tangled in emotional drama. I want to spend my whole life happy and alone. If there's someone who can love you forever, wouldn't that be happier than being alone? I countered with a smile. He shook his head. Forget it. I don't believe in love that lasts forever. Even in fairy tales, the prince isn't always the same person. Really? I was quite surprised. He rolled his eyes at me. If you don't believe me, check it yourself. Fine, you're the most learned. I believe you. Happy now? Just then, the school bell rang. I decisively ended the conversation. I yanked him back to the classroom. Halfway through the class, he leaned in and whispered in my ear, "When is he coming to find us? At the very least, we have to wait until the class ends. But lunch break starts right after this." Under my teasing gaze, he braced himself and continued, "Lunch break is for eating, and I'm starving." He's an absolute foodie who can't miss a single meal a day. Even in between, he can't keep his mouth still. Not letting him eat when it's time is the worst torture imaginable. Then go ahead and eat. I'll wait for him by myself. How can I do that? How could I leave you all alone? Do I look like the kind of person who lacks loyalty? He sounded so dead serious, as if I had actually been doubting him. I know his personality all too well, so I asked him back with a smirk, "Are you sure about this? You're really skipping lunch?" He clearly hadn't decided. He wanted a feast for lunch, but he didn't want to leave me alone. After struggling with himself for a while, he suddenly grabbed me with a look of joy. "Didn't you say he's coming to find you? Then let's just go to the cafeteria. He'll find us there too." True, we really weren't thinking straight just now, not being flexible at all. He packed his bag in a flash. "Hurry up. If we're any later, my favorite dish will be gone." I gave him a deep look. I didn't say that if we went to the cafeteria, he would definitely find us. A man who cares so much about status, striving to look high class, and incredibly noble, wouldn't just casually visit a down-to-earth place like the school cafeteria. But even if he didn't come looking for me, I'd find other ways to deal with him later. I don't need this one or two specific chances. I just felt sorry that he couldn't vent his anger from back then. But I underestimated the impact of yesterday's events. When I saw him accompanied by a female teacher, walking into the crowded cafeteria, I was momentarily stunned. Then, I figured he might care too much, preferring to swallow his pride and come here, just to get things cleared up with me. Biting the end of my chopsticks, my eyes curved into crescents as I smiled. "Lu Shubai, look behind you and see who's here." He was too busy stuffing his face to pay any attention to me. Not until Zhou Zimo was right in front of him did he lift his gaze and glance at the other man. At first, he didn't recognize him, but after a closer look, he realized who it was and his eyes widened. Long time no see. Zhou Zimo's smile was gentle and refined. He was perfectly groomed, wearing the latest high-end seasonal suit, with an expensive watch on his wrist. It was clearly worth a fortune. One look and you'd think he was a successful man, or a young master from a wealthy family. Well, if it isn't young Master Zhou, with your noble status, isn't coming here a bit beneath you? He immediately dropped his chopsticks, forgetting even his favorite meal. He instantly switched into defense mode. In the past, more than me, the actual target, Zhou Zimo actually targeted him more. Just like now, his face was full of disdain, and his words were ruthless. Although there was no physical fight, the war of words was just as fierce. It always left a bitter taste in one's mouth. How could he not resent it? Zhou Zimo's expression soured. Because he was so eager to settle things with me, he had actually forgotten Lu Shubai existed. With Lin Wanwan not around, this blunt guy was nothing but a nuisance. The female teacher accompanying him heard this, and her expression became strange. Student, watch your tone. This is disrespectful to others. Be careful not to cause unnecessary trouble. Zhou Zimo's gaze was stern, his presence commanding, truly embodying the authority of a teacher. Unnecessary trouble? He let out a soft chuckle. Studying abroad really changed you. You sound much more confident than before. Not just confident, but you've selectively forgotten the past. Then doesn't that make my wife an outsider? All those years of friendship, wasted. I quickly chimed in from the side. The amount of information in those words was staggering. Teacher Chun, who was with them, looked completely embarrassed. Teacher Zhou, are you old acquaintances with these two students? We do know each other. He obviously couldn't let Teacher Chun dig deeper into our words. Frowning, he explained carefully, but there's a slight misunderstanding between us. That's why their words were a bit harsh. He appeared completely composed. He spoke while intentionally leaving room for maneuver. His words were carefully calculated, exuding the stability of a mature man, which easily inspired trust. So that's how it is. A smile returned to Teacher Chen's face. Her tone carried a hint of protectiveness. I knew Teacher Zhou wouldn't be like that. Distinguished, poised, and elegant. Zhou Zimo's outward appearance was indeed impressive, and he deliberately maintained his grace, just walking around the campus. Not to say he had 100% of the attention, but at least he could make many single female teachers form a very positive impression. Teacher Chen was naturally one of them. Lu Shubai chuckled softly, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. Zhou Zimo, don't you feel guilty hearing this? Someone with strong mental fortitude wouldn't show it. The two of them coordinated perfectly. Their words hit right where it hurt. Zhou Zimo's expression shifted repeatedly. As they say, two fists are no match for four hands. No matter how eloquent he was at a disadvantage. He took a deep breath, turned to look at Teacher Chen. His tone was slightly pleading. Teacher Chen, thank you for bringing me here today. It's getting late. You should go have your lunch. I'll handle things here myself. I actually don't mind at all. He walked to the empty seat beside me, acting as if he wanted to sit down for a long talk. Teacher Chen hurriedly reached out to stop him, saying with a face full of worry, Teacher Zhou, what are you still planning to do here? Listen to them continue saying these things? She looked at Lu Shubai and me disapprovingly, with obvious displeasure on her face. Which major are you students from? This is the new teacher for the pharmacy major. You should know how to respect your teachers. I didn't even glance at her. I gave Zhou Zimo a faint smile, since Lin Wanwan isn't by his side. He plans to use Teacher Chun as a shield. I can see right through his intentions. He's really used to relying on others. We are students of clinical medicine. You're not a clinical medicine teacher, are you? Then you aren't responsible for our department. Lu Shubai has always been independent. He never liked others telling him what to do. He wouldn't just because of her status as a teacher, completely submit and stay silent. Teacher Chun is from the nursing major. She indeed isn't directly responsible for clinical medicine. A hint of embarrassment appeared on Teacher Chen's face, but in front of Zhou Zimo, she didn't want to seem powerless, so she forced herself to say, even if I'm not in your major, you are students of this school. I am a teacher of this school. I also have a responsibility to remind you. I don't want to argue this with you. You do your duty, and we keep our attitude, alright? He picked up the chopsticks on the table, with a look of total indifference. It's rare for a teacher from another major to interfere. No, why don't you just tell us to shut up. That way, the teacher beside you won't be bothered. He pointed out her intentions so bluntly, leaving her feeling extremely embarrassed. Zhou Zimo glanced at her, his brow furrowed slightly. If this kept happening, he would be forced into a passive position, unable to take control of the situation. Only Lin Wanwan could give him enough confidence to be taken seriously by others, so he absolutely had to handle these relationships well. I will absolutely not compromise easily. Teacher Chen couldn't say anything more to us, fearing we'd say something that would embarrass her further, making things even harder for her. So, she gently advised Zhou Zimo, "Teacher Zhou, they are still young and impulsive. Don't stoop to their level, especially for a new teacher like you. There's no need to argue with students. What kind of teacher is he?" My smile became meaningful. Did he get in through connections or some other backdoor? I've warned you, watch your language. Now Zhou Zimo was truly serious. His tone became very solemn, just as Teacher Chen said. "I am, after all, a teacher at this school. Please show me some basic respect." I shrugged indifferently. The smile on my face remained relaxed. "I was just asking out of curiosity. I didn't say you were. There's no need to be so nervous." How could he not be nervous? If he acted like he didn't care, how could he convince others he actually has real talent? Lu Shubai rested his chin in his hands, looking at her. "Teacher Chen, don't you agree? You two are simply unreasonable. You're being far too rude to a teacher. I honestly don't know how students with such poor attitudes even manage to get into the medical college. It's a complete disappointment to the school." Lu Shubai turned to look at me. Meow. He made a playful cat sound. I instantly understood what he meant. The two of us shared a low chuckle. Isn't this a clear act of protection? Zhou Zimo is indeed attractive. He gains people's favor wherever he goes. The kind of protection where people go all out for him. But thinking about it, it's not surprising. After all, his outward image is indeed impressive. Someone with a hidden past always tries their best to hide it in front of those who know. If it were just me, it would be fine. But add a blunt Lu Shubai into the mix, and any explanation he gives now seems pale. I originally wanted to clear up the misunderstanding between us, so we could stay on friendly terms. Since you don't want to talk properly, then I have nothing more to say. I've said what needed to be said. I hope you can be more mature in the future. Zhou Zimo stood up and spoke coldly. "Teacher Zhou, thank you for your concern." Seeing Teacher Chen's face full of concern, he felt it was truly unnecessary, so he spoke bluntly. "Teacher Chen, this teacher before you who seems so polished actually has a very unusual past. His outfit is incredibly expensive, far beyond what ordinary people can imagine. The watch on his wrist is even rarer. I'll tell you the brand right now. You can look it up yourself and you'll see. So, do you still think we're just picking on him? We're simply stating the facts." I replied with a calm smile. Teacher Chen's expression changed instantly. We've made everything so clear that if she still blindly takes his side, she's either naive or fooled by appearances. She really needs a wake-up call. After all, Teacher Chen just met him. She just had a good first impression. She didn't have any deep understanding of him, so she glanced at Zhou Zimo. Without saying a word, she turned and left. Zhou Zimo's expression became awkward. He stood there in silence for a moment. "Teacher Zhou, I know you want to talk to me about yesterday and want to explain the situation, but you should consider the setting. You didn't even check who was here before coming. After all, he's an expert at dealing with the stubborn." I teased him with a beaming smile. Of course, I wouldn't easily back down now either. It's just that he hasn't fully accepted it himself. I have absolutely no reason to hide. You say he's an expert at dealing with the stubborn? You're exaggerating way too much, Zhou Zimo said, suppressing his emotions. "I'm not trying to prove anything. I'll be working at H University from now on. It's inevitable that we'll run into each other on campus. I just thought it was necessary to say hello. What on earth do you actually teach?"
"I'm genuinely curious."
"Let me ask you, did you specialize in medicine abroad?" His face was full of doubt. He stared at him, waiting for an answer. Zhou Zimo's expression flickered. I then composed my expression. My tone was incredibly calm. "I have a pharmacist certification. I'm qualified to be a pharmacy professor." He didn't answer Lu Shubai directly. Lu Shubai truly admired him. Despite being in the wrong and lacking confidence, he could still act so composed. "Don't you think that arguing right now makes you look like a clown?" I glanced down at my watch. If I were you, I would have left early to save some face, instead of waiting until lunch ended. "Let's go." As soon as the words fell, I stood up and nodded to Lu Shubai. signaling him to leave with me. The two of us walked side by side, striding away right in front of Zhou Zimo. Zhou Zimo stood frozen in place. His eyes glared with hatred at our backs, gritting his teeth in rage. I used to be timid in front of him. He didn't dare provoke him at all. A lot can happen in 5 years, and it can change a person. He wasn't surprised that I became like this, but he still couldn't accept it for a moment. The young master who used to be at his mercy suddenly dared to give him a piece of his mind, especially facing my mocking gaze. He couldn't stay calm at all. He didn't want me to realize that I could hold my head high and live without restraint, just like Lu Shubai. Zhou Zimo closed his eyes tightly, then quickly left the cafeteria. Lu Shubai vented for me, and I felt exceptionally refreshed. After the afternoon classes ended, I declined Lu Shubai's invitation again, and went straight to the hospital. Lin Wanwan used to be a workaholic. She rarely spent time lying in bed. Now she's bedridden all day. You can imagine how miserable she feels. I was in a great mood, entering the ward with a big smile. Compared to Lin Wanwan's cold face, it was a stark contrast. Who is that ugly face for? Just don't show it to me, or I'll leave right now, I thought to myself. Lin Wanwan, who wanted to be cold to me, took a deep breath and forced a gentle tone to ask, "School's out." I nodded expressionlessly. Isn't that obvious? Would I be here if school wasn't out? Seems your brain really took a hit. Lin Wanwan was silent for a few seconds, feeling like she'd gone stupid lying in bed. She was somewhat annoyed, wanting to throw a tantrum, but she couldn't lash out at me, because if I left in anger, she'd have to deal with the disdainful caregivers again. So she had to suppress her rage. "What's for dinner?" After asking, I remembered something, and immediately continued, "Oh, I forgot. You can only have porridge now." Lin Wanwan's face darkened further. Drinking nothing but liquids for days, anyone would find it unbearable. Lin Wanwan felt everything tasted bland. "Your mom will bring it, right?" I put my bag aside, sat in the nearby chair, and leisurely crossed my legs. "Once your mom brings it and you finish eating, I'll go home." "The care you're talking about is just watching me eat and then leaving?" Lin Wanwan questioned coldly. "Otherwise," I raised an eyebrow. "How else do you want me to care for you? Personal care? You must be bored." Lin Wanwan was so angry she laughed.
Mu Chen.
"Just you wait." I looked up at the ceiling. She'll definitely settle the score once she can move. But for now, the more debts, the less they weigh. It's a win to annoy her while she's immobile. If I can make her furious, I've won.
Mu Chen.
"Do you really think you can annoy me?" The woman's question matched my inner thoughts. I was suddenly startled. I looked at her with guarded eyes. She couldn't possibly know what I'm thinking, right? That's absolutely impossible. It must have been a coincidence. But this woman is truly terrifying. A mindless person in front of her is like an open book. I felt I couldn't. I crossed my arms over my chest, quietly watching the woman before me. My skills aren't enough yet. You had your car accident too early. Give it 2 more years, and it might work. Lin Wanwan sneered. "I didn't realize you were so sharp-tongued before. I hadn't awakened back then. No different from a fool. Now that I have, I'm much smarter." I sneered. My tongue is a true inheritance from Chu Huilan. It's hard to get the upper hand in an argument with me. Whether it's Zhou Zimo or Lin Wanwan, none of them are my match. Afterward, neither of them spoke a word. The ward fell into a deathly silence, until when Shojin arrived and broke the silence. "Daughter, Mom knows you're not in the mood for porridge, so I added chicken to it today. Could you please drink more of it?" Unlike how she usually picked fights with me, today when Shojin acted as if I weren't there, until she poured the porridge into the bowl. After waking up, she gave me a cold glance. Some people sound so convincing, promising they'll do this and that, but when the time actually comes, they can't deliver at all. As soon as the words left her lips, she let out a few mocking laughs. I started laughing along, though my laugh was a bit naive. Being so passive-aggressive here. "Huh? As long as I pretend not to understand, then you're not talking about me. I'll just ignore you and not play along, and see how frustrated you get." Lin Wanwan, on the bed, glanced at me, a hint of a smile flickering in her eyes, seeing me just grinning foolishly without speaking, when Shojin complained irritably, "What terrible luck. Your daughter had a car accident, Of course it's bad luck. Can you stop mentioning the car accident? Wen Xiaojun snapped loudly. Her precious daughter had suffered, and she was heartbroken. She couldn't stand hearing those two words. All right, I made a zipping motion across my lips, which only made her more furious. Wen Xiaojun took a few deep breaths, barely suppressing her rage. She grabbed my hand and shoved a bowl into it. Take good care of my daughter. You said it yourself, that you'd look after her until she's discharged. You're not allowed to go home tonight either. I looked down at the bowl in my hand, a flicker of mischief crossing my mind, a glint of cunning in my eyes. But I have to go to school. School? When Xiaojun's expression changed. Didn't you drop out? Didn't you make me get a divorce? What else is there to do after a divorce but go back to school? Luckily, my grades were too good. My counselor didn't want to lose a talent like me, so they didn't submit my withdrawal application. That's how I can continue my studies. Otherwise, some people would have ruined my life. Lin Wanwan hated others interfering, hated elders meddling in her love life and marriage. I said this to stir things up for Wen Xiaojun, while giving myself a massive pat on the back and delivering a passive-aggressive counterattack. Just as expected, Lin Wanwan's face immediately darkened, her gaze toward Wen Xiaojun turning gloomy. Wen Xiaojun guiltily avoided her gaze, then stubbornly retorted, I didn't make you two divorce. He was the one who brought it up first. She glared at me in anger. You brat! Why are you lying? I shrugged indifferently, speaking with a calm, smiling tone. Maybe I remembered it wrong. Remembered it wrong? My foot. That's exactly what she said. Regardless of the situation, this gave Wen Xiaojun a way out. Although Wen Xiaojun was displeased, her expression softened considerably. Stay here tonight and take care of Wanwan. She can't move right now. I don't trust anyone else to do it. Wen Xiaojun pointed to the bowl in my hand. I have some things to attend to. Feed the porridge to Wanwan. How sweet of her to say. Doesn't trust others, she says. If she's so worried, why not do it herself? Plainly put, she just wants to torture me. She doesn't want me to have a moment's peace. I'm the one she should trust the least. Who knows, one day I might wake up in a bad mood and settle old scores with her daughter. This time, Lin Wanwan couldn't laugh. She really was in danger now. This was no joking matter. Without blinking, I held the spoon and turned to look at Lin Wanwan. Don't worry, I'll take very good care of her. I emphasized the words very good. Lin Wanwan's eyes narrowed, her face full of warning. I quickly looked away, pretending I saw nothing. Seeing that I wasn't arguing anymore, Wen Xiaojun didn't say anything more. She grabbed her bag and left. As she left, she told Su Juchi at the door, tell me if she leaves. I guess I have no choice but to stay today. If I left now, I'd be crushing Wen Xiaojun's pride. She'd definitely go ballistic. Once Wen Xiaojun was gone, I patiently fed the porridge to Lin Wanwan. Neither of us spoke a word. The room was deathly silent. I noticed her eyes were cast down. Then she suddenly looked up. Behind me. Confused, I turned around. The figure standing behind me was tall, standing extremely close, felt like facing a brick wall, startling me out of my wits. I frowned and looked up, meeting a smirk of pure arrogance. I know this woman very well. She's Lin Wanwan's cousin, the daughter of Wen Xiaojun's younger brother. Her name is Mu Yulu. In the past, Mu Yulu was just like Lin Wanwan. They both absolutely loathed me. The reason was simple. They thought I wasn't good enough. Not good enough for the cousin she admired. Every time we met, she couldn't help but mock me. If it were just sarcasm, it would have been fine. I could have simply chosen to ignore it. It wouldn't have caused me any real harm. But Mu Yulu had malicious intentions. She often tripped me up behind my back. That's why I despise her. How could I have forgotten her? I suffered a lot at her hands in the past. It's about time I taught her a lesson. Lin Wanwan heard my inner thoughts. Her gaze toward Mu Yulu turned displeased. This cousin of hers has been annoying since childhood. Not only is she petty and vengeful, but she finds everyone an eyesore. Even if someone hasn't offended her, she'll still find a way to prank them. She's just a dark-hearted person. If I had gone through all that, I must have been bullied by her countless times. Behave yourself, Lin Wanwan warned coldly. That was the first thing she said upon seeing Mu Yulu. It sounded quite bizarre to me, but Mu Yulu understood what she meant. She raised an eyebrow in sheer surprise, finding it completely unbelievable. Doesn't cousin hate me? Why is she she suddenly defending me? I didn't want to provoke Mu Yulu head-on. I placed the bowl on the nightstand and stepped aside. Lin Wanwan's expression darkened. She spoke in a freezing tone. I haven't finished my porridge yet. Eating less at night is better for your health. I gave a faint smile. Before Lin Wanwan could respond, Mu Yulu let out a cold sneer. I think you're just scared of me. Too afraid to even sit here. You're right, and you're wrong. Haven't you noticed? When I see you at school, I take a detour just to avoid you. I'm afraid your temper is too volatile. My fate is fragile, and if I get caught in your storm, it would be a tragedy if I dropped dead. I bowed slightly as I spoke, appearing very subservient, but my words were anything but kind. Mu Yulu's face darkened instantly. Usually, when she bullied me, I wouldn't dare utter a single word of protest. Now, facing a counterattack for the first time, she felt an extraordinary surge of rage.
Mu Chen.
Don't think that just because you married my sister, you've suddenly ascended to heaven and can look down on everyone. In my sister's eyes, you are nothing. You are absolutely nothing. Mu Yulu's words were always vile. I've heard these insults too many times. I've long since become completely immune. My expression shifted slightly, yet I kept a smiling face. You're overthinking it. I've always had a clear understanding of myself. There's no need to exhaust yourself reminding me. On the surface, my words sounded polite, but they were designed to irritate, making her want to explode. But getting angry would make her look petty. Mu Yulu was completely disgusted. The best way to deal with someone like this is to give them a taste of their own medicine. Unfortunately, Mu Yulu didn't understand that. I think you've had it too easy. Mu Yulu lunged toward me, a fierce expression on her face. If I don't teach you a lesson today, I'll write my name backwards. My expression remained indifferent. I didn't feel the slightest bit of fear. I didn't even budge from my spot. What a foolish child. If her troublemaking made the news, it wouldn't just be her family, but the Lin family would be dragged into the scandal too, which would cause the company's stock to plummet. The losses would be astronomical. Just do it already. Stop stalling. Lin Wanwan's face darkened instantly. She shouted sternly,
Mu Yulu.
Do you think I'm invisible? Mu Yulu stopped dead in her tracks. She turned back, complaining with a hint of grievance. Sister, the things he says are too awful. Which one of you is actually the rude one? Lin Wanwan felt both amused and exasperated. She glared sternly at Mu Yulu. Regardless, you can't just hit people. I wasn't planning on hitting him. Even if I have a bad temper, I don't just lash out physically. Oh, look at you having principles. I clicked my tongue in mock regret, continuing to provoke her. So, you're not going to hit me? Why are you storming over here? Don't tell me you want to give me a massage.
Mu Chen.
Mu Yulu's eyes were bloodshot. She was practically driven insane with rage. No one had ever made her this angry before. Though there's a first time for everything, she just didn't want that person to be Mu Chen. Why should someone who used to bow down now not only hold their head high, but also deliver such a heavy blow? The more Mu Yulu thought about it, the more miserable she felt. I'm right here. No need to scream my name so loudly. I reached up and picked my ear, which only made her more furious.
Mu Chen.
I don't know what triggered you, but I'm not your little cousin anymore. You'd better watch yourself. Mu Yulu warned through gritted teeth. Are you threatening me? I raised an eyebrow. Oh, please don't. Please, I beg you.
I'm truly terrified.
Someone as obnoxious as you. I shouldn't have used that word. Right? I'm so sorry. It was just a slip of the tongue. You're the bigger person here. Please don't take it to heart. Are you about to blow a fuse? If you've got the guts, try hitting me. In all her life, she'd never met someone like this. Someone who actually begs to be beaten. Either Mu Chen has lost his mind, or something is seriously wrong with his head. Would any sane person think like this? Mu Yulu was truly on the verge of exploding. Her fists clenched and unclenched repeatedly. Her face screamed that she wanted to pummel him. But regardless of everything, she knew she couldn't just start a fight, especially not in front of Lin Wanwan. So the frustration building in her chest and the fire burning in her gut had absolutely no way of being released. The agony was unimaginable. Seeing her just glare at me viciously, with no intention of actually striking, I realized that provoking her further was pointless. I instantly lost interest. I turned and walked toward the water dispenser. Looks like I'll need a different approach later. I must give her a lesson she'll never forget, so she never dares to mess with me again. Ideally, she'll just take a detour when she sees me. Hearing my inner thoughts, Lin Wanwan's expression grew even darker.
Mu Yulu.
Stop provoking him from now on. Mu Yulu stared at her in disbelief. You're actually defending him? I don't care. He humiliated me so badly today that I must make him suffer. I'm afraid you're the one who'll suffer. Lin Wanwan sighed helplessly and didn't say anything more. Perhaps it's true. This cousin really does need a lesson. Her body still aches from time to time, so she has no energy for this nonsense. Closing her eyes, she spoke softly. Just go home. I need to rest. Sister, I'm leaving right now. But before I go, I have a few questions. Mu Yulu wiped the anger from her face and sat on the chair with a beaming smile. Lin Wanwan opened one eye to look at her. What is it? Is brother Zhou Zimo back? I, standing by the water dispenser, froze mid-sip. I looked up and stared straight over. My ears practically perked up. If you're done, just go home. Lin Wanwan looked very displeased. Rather than believing her cousin had fallen for Mu Chen, Mu Yulu believed she was just having a lover's quarrel. So she leaned in, trying her best to persuade her. Sister, Zhou Zimo is proud, and since Grandpa forced you to marry back then, he's been harboring a grudge. It's only natural that he's acting out. He's finally willing to return to the country. You can't keep playing hard to get. If he goes back abroad for years, you'll be the one regretting it. Exactly. If he stays abroad for another 5 years, the children your sister and I have will be calling him uncle. My timing on that line was perfect. I successfully turned both their faces pale with rage. They looked absolutely miserable. How can someone be so vicious with their words? It's a miracle Mu Chen has never been beaten. Why is everyone looking at me? I blinked innocently. Am I wrong? You actually think you'll have kids with my girl? You're not exactly a looker, but you certainly have a vivid imagination. Mu Yulu's face was full of mockery. It's not a matter of imagination. Your girl and I are legally married. Think about that carefully. Sharing a room together, sleeping in one bed at night. Sooner or later, there'll be a child. Unless your body can't handle it. Just as the words left my mouth, I turned to look at Lin Wanwan. A mysterious smile played on my lips. Lin Wanwan felt deeply humiliated. A faint blush appeared on her face. Not because she was shy, but purely because I pissed her off. Did you forget one possibility? Lin Wanwan's beautiful face turned ice cold. I raised an eyebrow. What possibility? Just not sleeping with me, right? I can see right through your little schemes. This special ability to hear inner thoughts. How can I make it disappear? She's afraid it doesn't need to disappear, but she'll lose 10 years of her life staying in this hospital. All of you, get out. Lin Wanwan closed her eyes wearily. I need to rest. Sister, you and brother Zhou Zimo, can't you hear me talking? Lin Wanwan snapped her eyes open. Her gaze was terrifyingly cold. My love life is none of your business. Worry about yourself first. Anyone who knows Lin Wanwan knows that she doesn't want to hear a single word right now. Although Mu Yulu was reluctant, she wisely chose to leave for now. After she had gone far enough, I pretended nothing had happened and calmly walked into the bathroom. When I came back out, my face was still wet. Clearly, I had just washed my face. I'm still quite young. My skin is at its most supple. Plus, my skin is fair. My sharp, defined features under the light looked like a peeled egg, making one want to give it a pinch to see if it felt as good as it looked. Lin Wanwan stared intently at me. Her eyes were deep. A spirited youth like this once loved her with all his life, with all his heart and soul, but she cast him aside like trash. She couldn't imagine what I had endured under her treatment in the past, to have such sorrowful inner thoughts in the dead of night. Lin Wanwan's emotions were incredibly complex, but I didn't have time for that. All I wanted now was a good night's sleep, so I'd be refreshed for class tomorrow. Until I lay down and crawled under the covers, I didn't spare Lin Wanwan a single glance. I treated her completely like air. A hint of displeasure appeared in Lin Wanwan's eyes. She coughed softly, trying to get my attention. I decided to give her some face, and turned to look at her. What is it? Is your throat bothering you? Lin Wanwan coughed a few more times. Get me some water. I had just lain down. I really didn't want to get up, but I had no choice. I got out of bed with a look of pure reluctance. After pouring a glass of water and returning, the way I fed her the water was quite rough. It could hardly be called feeding water. It was more like force feeding. Cough, cough, cough. You,
Mu Chen.
Finally, thanks to my relentless efforts, Lin Wanwan's defenses completely collapsed. She choked and started coughing violently. Sorry, I'm just too tired. I spaced out for a second. This apology had zero sincerity. My face screamed, I'm doing this on purpose. That's for messing with me. Let's see if you dare do it again. Cough. Forget it. My inner thoughts were admittedly quite malicious. Fire flared in Lin Wanwan's eyes. Just as she was about to scold me, she suddenly spotted something. She froze instantly. A few seconds passed. She laughed out of sheer anger.
Mu Chen.
What are you doing with my face towel? I glanced at the light blue towel on the door handle and answered nonchalantly, wiping my feet. That's for the face. The caregiver here used it to wipe her face. She knew it all too well. Ha! I put on an exaggerated look of surprise. I didn't know. When I stayed here a few days ago, I used it to wipe my feet too. You couldn't possibly. I covered my mouth before finishing the sentence and looked at her with a mischievous yet pitiful gaze. Lin Wanwan didn't say a word. She just stared at me with cold eyes. I don't know how much time passed. The corners of her mouth slowly curled up, letting out an ambiguous laugh. I wondered if she'd gone crazy with rage, if I really drove her insane, and she forced herself up to deal with me. It'd be bad. Maybe I should tone it down. I was just joking. Don't take it seriously. Lin Wanwan didn't believe a word of my nonsense. She shouted with a gloomy expression.
Su yi kaki.
Komein. My expression suddenly froze. I had a bad feeling. This woman definitely has ulterior motives. Su Juchi had been standing outside the door. Hearing the voice, she pushed the door and entered. Her gaze swept across my face. A faint smile flashed in her eyes. Miss Lin. Su Juchi walked to the bedside and stopped, leaning over slightly. What are your orders? Starting today, keep a close eye on the man behind me. Don't let him leave the hospital for a single step. I exploded the moment I heard that, questioning her sharply. By what right do you restrict my freedom? Because I am the legal wife. Lin Wanwan sneered. Even if I weren't, I don't want you to leave the hospital. What can you do about it? I was so angry I was speechless. Using power to oppress people is just boring. Can't play fair. Can you? This was the first time she'd seen me speechless. Her mood instantly improved. When did you learn to be obedient? Then I'll let you go. Otherwise, wait until I'm discharged and leave together with me. I narrowed my eyes at Lin Wanwan. How was I so blind to fall for her back then? Could it be just because she's beautiful? I didn't think so before my rebirth, but looking at her now, that's likely it. Because once the filter is gone, I realize, besides her looks, she is absolutely useless. After hearing my inner thoughts, Lin Wanwan's eyes couldn't help but flicker. She knows I hate her right now, and this method only proves I hate her more. But I've always been like a hedgehog, firmly protecting my fragile heart. Whoever touches me gets pricked, full of aggression. She's already tried the soft approach, but I refuse to speak properly with her. Now she has no choice but to resort to this, keeping me by her side first, to stop me from running around, like boiling a frog in lukewarm water. Sooner or later, she'll get me to calm down and talk. Fine, you're great. What else can I do? I could only sit back on the bed and just decide to rot. Then I won't go to school. I'll focus on taking care of you here. I looked at Lin Wanwan, tilting my head and smiling as I added, I'll make sure to take great care of you, so that when you're discharged, it'll be like the accident never happened. This was absolute sarcasm. It would be strange if Lin Wanwan couldn't tell, but her expression remained unchanged, nodding calmly in response. Good. I hope you keep your word. At this moment, I wasn't thinking of anything. Lin Wanwan couldn't figure out my thoughts either, so she didn't say anything more. I lay back down on the bed, lying on my side, staring at the wall, grinding my teeth. That damn woman, imprisoning me. Huh? Just you wait and see. Don't expect your days to be easy before discharge. You once trapped me and ruined me. This time I won't be manipulated by you. Lin Wanwan, listening to my thoughts, frowned. Trapped once and cost a life. Where exactly was he trapped? Lin Wanwan continued listening with questions in mind, but she gained no valuable information. She tilted her head and looked at the other bed, seeing that I had turned over at some point, facing her directly, eyes closed, already half asleep. She gritted her teeth hard. She wondered what I had gone through before, thinking until her head hurt. As for me, I just fell fast asleep, truly carefree. Lin Wanwan sulked for a long time by herself, before finally closing her eyes to sleep. A dreamless night. When I woke up in the morning, Lin Wanwan was still fast asleep. I glanced at the phone on the nightstand. I grabbed it and turned it on. Play my song Mu Chen. Take it back to your home. Leave your smile behind. Tomorrow. The sound of a children's song echoed through the ward. In her sleep, Lin Wanwan frowned. Soon. She snapped her eyes open. She looked at me, her face full of irritation. What do you think you're doing? Just listening to music. I beamed with a smile. I have a habit of listening to music when I wake up. My apologies. Did I disturb you? You knew it would disturb me and you still played it? Lin Wanwan seemed unable to move. Lin Wanwan was completely unable to move. Otherwise, she would have gotten up to strangle me. I shrugged indifferently. Usually, when I wake up, I'm usually alone when I wake up. I momentarily forgot you were here. I forgot about your presence. Lin Wanwan took a deep breath. With a living person lying right opposite me, how could I possibly say something like that? That's right. I did this on purpose. Turn it off. Now, Lin Wanwan ordered coldly. Since you're already awake, why should I turn it off? Just listen to some music with me. Music puts people in a good mood. A good mood speeds up recovery. I'm doing this for your own good. If Lin Wanwan couldn't hear my inner thoughts, she might actually believe this nonsense. This man is taking revenge by not letting me leave the hospital. In her heart, she was cursing me to death. I have plenty of time to teach you a lesson. Lin Wanwan let out a cold sneer. Let's see who can endure this longer. My gaze instantly sharpened. I didn't want to say another word. Is threatening the only thing you know how to do? Lin Wanwan curled the corner of her mouth. Never mind if she knows how to do other things, as long as this trick works to shut me up. Su Juchi delivers food every day at 7 o'clock sharp. When the time came, Su Juchi knocked on the door. Lin Wanwan looked toward the door. Come in. As soon as she spoke, the door was gently pushed open. Su Juchi placed the thermal lunchbox on the nightstand. Then she leaned over slightly and said to Lin Wanwan, Miss Lin, there's a document that needs your review. Lin Wanwan nodded indifferently. I looked at Su Juchi and asked curiously, you're always the one guarding outside every day. Don't you need any rest? I'm not always the one here. Colleagues take turns with me. After opening the document, Su Juchi turned and answered softly. What a coincidence then. Every time I come, it's always you. A sweet smile played on my lips, looking handsome and charming under the sunlight. Lin Wanwan glanced at me. She felt a twinge of discomfort, but she didn't say anything. Su Juchi held the document. When Lin Wanwan finished a page and nodded, she turned the page. The document was soon finished. Sign it on my behalf. Lin Wanwan's voice was flat. Yes. Su Juchi closed the document. Just as she was about to leave, I looked up at her. Have you had breakfast? I have. Su Juchi paused for a moment, then added politely, thank you for your concern, sir. I smiled and said nothing more.
Su Yikaki.
What are you still doing standing there? Lin Wanwan looked at us with displeasure. Su Juchi didn't dare linger. She nodded to me and left the room. Why so fierce? I felt bad for Su Juchi because of this boss. Lin Wanwan laughed. She was laughing out of sheer anger. In my eyes, her sudden smile was actually quite terrifying. I turned my face away in disgust. Lin Wanwan was fuming with rage. She announced coldly,
Mu Chen.
From now on, you will focus entirely on taking care of me. If I'm not satisfied, I will absolutely not be discharged. Now you're just being tedious. My expression turned sour. Zhou Zimo is back. Why aren't you letting him take care of you? Why keep clinging to me? Lin Wanwan sneers. Because it makes me happy. A mocking smile appears on my face. I bet you just don't want him to be exhausted. Lin Wanwan, can you be any more dramatic? Is Zhou Zimo the only human here? And I'm not, right? Lin Wanwan knows exactly how to provoke me, but she doesn't want me to hate her even more, so she slowly shakes her head. I think you're more useful. What the hell do you mean, more useful? My expression is indescribable. Lin Wanwan, did the doctor say there's something wrong with your head? If not, I think they might have misdiagnosed you. Rest assured, my head is working just fine. Lin Wanwan curls her lips into a smile. It's more than enough to educate you. Lin Wanwan has narrow eyes, looking cold when she doesn't smile, and very intimidating. But when she smiles, she looks seductive, exceptionally charming. Back then, I fell in love at first sight because of that smile. Every time I saw Lin Wanwan, I hoped she would smile at me. Unfortunately, Lin Wanwan rarely smiles, and when she does, it's only for Zhou Zimo. To me, she always had a cold face. That's why I hate her smile now. It was this smile that led me into a trap and left me beyond redemption. My mood suddenly plummets. I avoid her gaze and say coldly, whatever. I'm gonna freshen up. As the words fall, I turn and walk quickly into the bathroom. I close the door. I stand before the sink, turn on the tap to cold water, and splash some water on my face. The wounds from the past are too deep. Even if I've come to terms with it now, the pain was real and cannot simply vanish. It will take a lifetime to heal. I can't keep going like this. I must keep a sufficient distance. I cannot let her affect me in the slightest. I'll just endure it until she's discharged. From then on, she can take her path, and I'll take mine. No more interference. After making up my mind, I finish cleaning up and leave the bathroom. I walk to the bedside table, expressionlessly open the thermal lunchbox, preparing to feed Lin Wanwan. Everything I thought about in the bathroom, Lin Wanwan heard it all. She looks at me with a complex expression, wanting to say something. Given how much I'm resisting her right now, there's really nothing left to say. After thinking it over, she chooses silence. I strictly follow my recent decision and dutifully feed Lin Wanwan. Not a single word is spoken, as we fall into an eerie silence. Neither of us shows any sign of breaking it. After feeding Lin Wanwan, I open another lunchbox and start eating. Once finished, I look at Lin Wanwan and say calmly, "You can't be away from school for too long. You'll handle it for me, right?" Lin Wanwan nods. She'll have Su Juchi handle the excuses. This is a trivial matter for her. A simple word is all it takes. That's the perk of having money and power. It can solve 99% of your troubles. The rest is just not having enough money and power. Thanks. I stand up from the chair. I'm gonna get the medicine from the nurse. The nurse will come by herself later. As if I didn't hear her, I turn and walk out. I just want to spend as little time in the same room as possible. Otherwise, I'm afraid I won't be able to stop myself from mocking her. Ignoring Lin Wanwan will be my motto for the time being. Outside the ward stands a man in a suit. I know him. He's the secretary who's been by Lin Wanwan's side for years, named Suhua. Seeing me, there isn't even a smile on Suhua's face. He just gives me a symbolic nod, with no intention of greeting me at all. He hates me. The reason is similar to Mu Yulu's, yet different. The similarity is that he thinks I'm not good enough for her. The difference is that he thinks he is. I can't wrap my head around it. Although the Mu family has fallen, I am still, after all, the young master. Not bad looking, quite well educated. Where exactly do I fall short for Lin Wanwan? I can't figure it out, yet so many people think so. Am I actually that pathetic? Just that I haven't realized it myself? Even at my worst, I'm better than the man before me. Why do they think I'm not worthy, while he is? The more I think about it, the angrier I get. I intended to walk straight over, but I changed my mind and stopped right in front of him. A cryptic smile played on my lips. That smile made Su Hua feel uneasy. He took a step back. Frowning, he asked, "Do you want something? Don't you need to use a respectful title?" Su Hua let out a mocking laugh. His gaze was utterly contemptuous. Even without words, I understood exactly what he meant. "You think you're worthy?" I raised my hand and gripped the ID badge on his chest.
Su no.
"My name is Su Hua." Su Hua forcefully slapped my hand away. I didn't expect someone from H University to be illiterate. "I'm truly worried for your future patients. I hope you're one of them." I shot back with a grin. Su Hua's eyes turned cold. He waved his hand in irritation, as if shooing away a fly. "If you have nothing else, please leave. Stop interfering with my work." "You call this working?" I opened my mouth in mock surprise. "Are you the cleaning uncle?" I looked around, my face full of confusion. "Where are your cleaning tools?"
Mu Chen.
Su Hua yelled my name in rage. "If you're sick, go to the psychiatric ward. I don't have time to bicker with you. Do you think everyone is as idle as you? Do you think everyone has a temper as good as mine?" My expression suddenly turned cold and sharp. My aura instantly surged. "You're just my wife's secretary. What gives you the right to be so arrogant? Or are you my wife's lover? Is that why you're so confident? Mr. Mu, please watch your words. President Lin and I are strictly professional. I won't tolerate your slander." Su Hua's face was flushed with anger. "So you're just bold, huh?" I let out a cold sneer. I leaned close to his ear. "I admire your courage. Too bad I don't like it. Know your place. Be more respectful when you see me, or I'll have you kicked out of the company, and you'll never be by President Lin's side again." Su Hua's expression shifted instantly. I took a step back, returning to my smiling facade. I'm not just threatening you. Su Hua took a deep breath, forcing himself to calm down. I am President Lin's man. What right do you have to decide if I stay or go? If you don't believe me, try it. I may not have the right, but I have the power. Having said that, I walked away without looking back. I can tolerate Lin Wanwan and Zhou Zimo, but there's no need to tolerate a little guy like Su Hua. If he dares to make me unhappy, I'll make sure he suffers. I didn't plan on calling a nurse. I went downstairs to buy a can of coffee. Then I sat on a chair facing the main entrance, drinking water while observing the outside. I wondered if Lin Wanwan's people were outside. I started to stand up, then sat back down. Most likely they are, since Lin Wanwan gave the order. Su Juchi would certainly follow it strictly, but being trapped in the hospital like this, I felt truly restless. I downed the rest of my coffee in one go. I crushed the can and walked toward the door. Even if there are guards outside, I have to try it myself. Once I try, I can finally give up hope, so I can stop obsessing and feeling miserable. Sir, please go back. Just as I suspected, before I could even step out the door, a man appeared and blocked my way. I silently pulled my foot back. I spoke to him with a fake smile. You're certainly dedicated. Keep up the hard work. You flatter me, sir. Do you really think I'm praising you? A knot of frustration tightened in my chest. I couldn't swallow it, nor could I vent it. It was absolutely agonizing. I stood there for a while to compose myself before leaving. As I passed by the trash bin, I violently tossed the coffee can inside, went upstairs into Lin Wanwan's ward. The nurse was changing her dressing. I glanced over her body. A slight frown creased my brow. A wound like that will definitely leave a scar. I wonder if it'll ever fully heal. Why the hell am I thinking about this? Whether she's scarred or not is none of my business. I've really lost my mind. Maybe it's just that her face is truly a masterpiece, like a perfect piece of art. It would be a shame to leave a flaw on it. Thinking that, my expression softened. The coffee left me feeling thirsty. I walked to the water dispenser and poured a glass. The nurse turned to look at me. Our eyes met. I gave her a cheeky grin. Couldn't help but be a smart-ass again. Is my wife in name beautiful or what? The nurse looked completely bewildered. After a few seconds, she nodded blankly. She's all yours. Don't mention it. You certainly have a sense of humor, sir. The nurse was dying of embarrassment. I realized I'd talked too much. Quickly shut my mouth, put down the glass, and flopped onto the sofa. Lin Wanwan opened her eyes and glared at the nurse. Hurry it up. Her tone was laced with impatience. The nurse immediately sped up, clearly more than 3 times faster than before. Once the dressing was finished, she practically fled the room. Look at how terrified that poor girl was. Only I was brave enough back then, not scared off by this terrifying woman. Otherwise, who would dare to love her? Living with her would be a nightmare. A vein popped on Lin Wanwan's forehead. I wonder if Zhou Zimo really loved her, or just used her as a tool to change his fate. If it was the latter, I can only say her life is pathetic. She deserves it.
Mu Chen.
The woman's cold, sharp voice startled me. I bolted upright from the sofa, staring at her, completely dazed. Why are you suddenly screaming my name? Lin Wanwan couldn't possibly have heard my thoughts, but losing her temper without a word is just being unreasonable in my eyes. Absolutely absurd, just like some hot-tempered lunatic. I was so frustrated my face turned red. Do you actually want something or not? I already found her incredibly strange. Lin Wanwan swallowed her anger unwillingly. My gaze turned to one of disgust. She's truly sick in the head. I didn't want to deal with her anymore. I rolled over and lay back down. For the next few days, I endured as much as I could, not uttering a single useless word. Lin Wanwan seemed to get the hint, so she stopped trying to communicate with me, until Lin Wanwan was able to move around. Only then did I start feeling uneasy. My defensive walls went back up. I took every chance to intentionally annoy her. Actually, this was what she wanted to see. At least I was willing to talk to her again. As long as there was some communication, even if it wasn't friendly, it was a good thing. It meant there was a chance to break the deadlock. Otherwise, if we kept the Cold War going, it would be like this for the rest of our lives. On the day of the Mid-Autumn Festival, the doctor said she could use crutches to walk. When Shojin was thrilled when she found out. She arrived at the hospital early in the morning. she was happy inside, seeing that I wasn't mocking her anymore, though her expression wasn't exactly pleasant. I didn't care at all. I handed her a peeled apple. I spoke in a flat tone. Today is the Mid-Autumn Festival. You have to let me go home for the holiday. You can. Lin Wanwan had already planned to let me go, so she agreed without hesitation. I was practically going crazy staying here. The moment she agreed, I turned and left. My pace was lightning fast, as if someone were chasing me. Once I left the ward, when Xiaojun looked away from the door, she asked Lin Wanwan with a serious face, "Daughter, I'm not trying to interfere in your relationship. I just want to know what you're thinking now." Lin Wanwan lifted her eyelids. "What? You don't plan on divorcing Mu Chen anymore?" "Not for the time being." When Xiaojun wasn't surprised by the answer, she wasn't an idiot. How could she not have noticed lately that her daughter was interested in Mu Chen? She just couldn't wrap her head around it. Her daughter clearly hated him before. Why the sudden change in attitude? And wasn't the one she liked Zhou Zimo? If you don't want a divorce, then don't. When Xiaojun hesitated for a moment and continued, "It's just that I really don't like him. I don't like that Zhou Zimo either. If possible, you should find someone of equal status, someone who can support your career." Lin Wanwan knew this was coming. A shadow of gloom crossed her face. "Am I some kind of failure? Who can't succeed without a man's help? I didn't mean it like that. I just..." When Xiaojun didn't finish her sentence, letting out a helpless sigh instead. "Just do whatever you think is best." Lin Wanwan pursed her lips tightly, remaining silent. The two rarely had anything to talk about. After a few minutes of heavy silence, when Xiaojun took out her phone to chat. Meanwhile, I left the hospital and went straight home. Mu Xiaobei is in her senior year of high school. With the college entrance exams looming, her schedule is incredibly grueling. To save time on the commute, she simply decided to board at school. Today is the Mid-Autumn Festival and school is out. She'll definitely be coming home. My sister and I are very close. I truly adore my sensible little sister. Perhaps because we were both neglected by Chu Huilan, sharing the same pain, we naturally grew closer. Having not seen her for so long, I missed her terribly. As soon as I stepped inside, I called her name. "Brother." Mu Xiaobei poked her head out from the second floor. I gazed at her in silence. For a moment, everything felt blurred. Before I was sent to the nursing home, she was almost graduating from college, having grown into a young woman. Seeing her as a teenage girl again felt completely surreal. "When did you get back?" I quickly snapped out of it, smiling and waving to her from below. "Come down here. Let me see you." Mu Xiaobei immediately dashed downstairs. She ran straight to me, throwing her arms around me in a tight hug, rubbing her face against my neck. "Brother, I missed you so much." "I missed you too." I gently stroked the back of her head, asking in a soft voice, "Are you exhausted from all the studying?" Mu Xiaobei shook her head with a smile. "Even if you're tired, you'd never admit it. I know you better than anyone. Don't push yourself too hard. Rest when you need to. Your health comes first." "I know." Mu Liheng walked out of the bathroom, looking at the two siblings hugging, a relieved smile on his face. But as Chu Huilan stepped out of her room, seeing this heartwarming scene, she didn't smile. Instead, she frowned deeply. "Xiaobei, stop clinging to your brother so much. You're not even this affectionate with me. Anyone would think he's your father." Her words were undeniably harsh. Mu Liheng felt a surge of annoyance. He looked up and shouted, "Huilan, why must you be so mean during a holiday? If you don't like it, don't listen." Chu Huilan glared at him fiercely. "Stop shouting at me. If you lose your temper with me one more time, you can forget about this holiday entirely." "Mom!" Mu Xiaobei let go of me, turning to look at her with a dissatisfied face. "Can't you just stop being like this?" The girl had inherited Chu Huilan's features and was breathtakingly beautiful. Even in a plain school uniform, she managed to look effortlessly chic, like a protagonist straight out of a manga. "Your father shouted at me first." Facing that beautiful face, Chu Huilan rarely found it in her to be stern, so she simply shifted the blame to Mu Liheng. "You were the one being mean in the first place, and now you won't let anyone talk back?"
Mu Xiaobei retorted coldly.
Chu Huilan's eyes widened in shock.
Mu Xiaobei,
"How dare you lecture me? Have you completely lost your mind? Mu Xiaobei remained silent in a huff. In the past, I would have thought my mother was just picking a fight, but now I know it's because she feels neglected. She craves her daughter's attention, but she has no idea how to ask for it. Coupled with her stubborn pride, she resorts to these provocative outbursts. At this moment, I have to be the one to step in. Mom, I know you're worried I'm exhausted, and that Xiaobei is clinging to me too much. I can't get any proper rest. Dad and Xiaobei don't understand your struggle. Let's not bicker during the holidays. I've provided the perfect way out. Chu Huilan stared at me for a long while. Then she gave a cold snort. I can't be bothered to argue with them. As long as you're not angry anymore. I plan to cook a few dishes myself. Come to the kitchen and help me. As I rolled up my sleeves, I looked at Mu Liheng and spoke. Dad, I've learned a few recipes lately. I've tried making them a few times. I think they taste pretty good. You guys have to try them today. You actually learned how to cook? Mu Liheng burst into laughter. Alright, then I'll just sit here and wait. Let's see how my son's skills are. I promise you'll be impressed. In the past, to please Lin Wanwan's family, I put a lot of effort into my cooking. I can't claim to be a 5-star chef, but I'm quite decent. So, Mu Liheng definitely won't be disappointed. You little brat, you dare order me around now? As Chu Huilan walked downstairs, she poked my forehead with her finger. Despite her complaining, she still followed me into the kitchen. Only my father and sister remained in the living room. The two of them sat on the sofa chatting. The conversation turned to Lin Wanwan's car accident. A chill settled over Mu Xiaobei's face. Mom told me, when Xiaojin actually didn't hire a caregiver, and left my brother to take care of her alone. Isn't she just blatantly bullying him? She just looks down on your brother and is using this as an excuse to mistreat him. Mu Liheng picked up the cigarette pack from the coffee table. He felt distressed whenever this marriage came up. Are we just going to watch brother get bullied? Mu Xiaobei's voice rose, her emotions becoming agitated. Keep your voice down. Mu Liheng's brow was furrowed deep. I feel for your brother too, but you know how much he loves Lin Wanwan. If we go there to demand an explanation and make Lin Wanwan unhappy, your brother will be the one suffering in the end.
Mu Xiaobei clenched her fists.
Speaking through gritted teeth, we should have stopped him at all costs back then. Absolutely should not have let him marry that woman. If I had tried to stop him, he would have gone on a hunger strike just to prove a point. Otherwise, do you think I would have agreed? Mu Liheng took a deep drag of his cigarette. It's better for him to suffer a bit. Once he can't take it anymore, he'll naturally divorce her. Mu Xiaobei's expression remained grim. I hope that's the case. I, in the kitchen, was unaware, not knowing my family was worrying about me. I washed a basin of vegetables and handed them to Chu Huilan to chop. One look at my face and you'd know I was in a great mood. I was so happy I was almost humming. Chu Huilan turned and gave me a warning glance. What's making you so happy? I'm home, of course I'm happy. I replied with a smile. Just because of that, that's enough to make me happy. I lowered my eyes and sighed softly. Nowhere feels as good as home. Nowhere is as good as being with family. That's the truth. I thought she wouldn't let you leave today. It seems she's still human after all. Chu Huilan stopped chopping, her face full of confusion. What on earth is Lin Wanwan thinking? Didn't Zhou Zimo return to the country? Why not let him accompany her every day, instead of making you stay at the hospital? How should I know? I find it ridiculous too. Before, she'd be annoyed if she even looked at me once. I don't know which nerve got crossed during this accident. No matter which nerve got crossed, since you've decided to move on, and are determined to divorce her, you can't let her deceive you again, or go running back to please her desperately. I know, Mom, unless I've completely lost it, or have a serious masochistic streak, I wouldn't fall for her again. Seeing that I hadn't wavered in the slightest, Chu Huilan nodded with satisfaction. That's the best way to think. There are plenty of other good women besides her. Mom, you didn't say that before. You're way too fickle. I lightly bumped her shoulder, unable to resist teasing her. Before, I saw how much you loved her, and feared you'd regret it after the divorce. By then, it would be too late. Now it seems you've truly given up on her. Then the sooner you divorce, the better. Maybe because I've always pampered her, she's finally willing to speak from the heart. Chu Huilan and I chatted while we worked, our movements quick and efficient. I prepared to make 3 of my signature dishes. Let the housekeeper handle the rest. Once all the vegetables were washed and chopped, I began stir-frying with ease. There wasn't much for Chu Huilan to help with, so she just stood by watching me work. I chatted with her while cooking, a smile never leaving my face. Why are you so happy? Chu Huilan asked with a slight smile. Spending the holiday with family, and getting to feed you my cooking. Of course I'm happy. Chu Huilan pursed her lips gently, lowering her gaze in silence. She had no real concept of the word home. Her childhood had been utterly miserable. Her father was a hot-tempered gambling addict. Her mother couldn't take it and abandoned her. Debt collectors came knocking every day for money. The house was often trashed and left in ruins. Her father stayed away for days to dodge debts. Even when he returned, he only took his anger out on her. She suffered immensely just to survive. She wouldn't make a sound, even with broken ribs. Surviving in such an environment, one either goes mad or becomes numb. She fled that home at 14, cutting off the shackles of her past forever. She never knew what a normal family looked like. Then, to survive in the years that followed, she donned a thick suit of armor, arming herself with the sharpest weapons. So after she married, whether toward her husband or her child, she remained utterly cold. Someone who was never truly loved. How could they know how to love others? I glanced at her while grabbing the vinegar, seeing her leaning against the wall, staring blankly. I wondered what was crossing her mind. I gave her a kind smile and didn't speak to disturb her. After some time, Chu Huilan snapped out of her memories. She rolled up her sleeves and walked toward the fridge. I'll make a few dishes too. My eyes lit up instantly. I turned to look at her immediately. Mom, you'd better show off your skills. It's been so long since I've had your cooking. Did I ever cook for you before? Chu Huilan looked genuinely puzzled. Since marrying into wealth and becoming a socialite, it seemed she had never stepped foot in a kitchen. The smile on my face froze. I lowered my eyes and whispered, "Of course you did. But that was many years ago. You probably don't remember." Chu Huilan nodded slightly, thinking she had simply forgotten. She didn't think much of it. I quickly turned back around, letting out a quiet sigh of relief. At this point in my rebirth, I truly hadn't tasted her cooking yet. Back then, when I was suffering immensely, I ran back to my parentiess house to cry. Without a word, she didn't even cook for me. At that time, she asked me if I wanted a divorce. I shook my head and refused without hesitation. I was so incredibly stupid back then. Unfortunately, I was blinded by a toxic love, completely losing my sanity. What are you daydreaming about? I had been spacing out for too long, and the sauce in the pan was almost dried up. Chu Huilan quickly nudged my arm. I snapped back to reality instantly, quickly grabbing the kettle to add water to the pan. You were so lost in thought. Thinking about the divorce?
No.
A faint smile played on my lips. She and I are bound for divorce sooner or later. There was nothing to be conflicted about. I just found my past self pathetic. Who hasn't done something stupid when they were young? Stop overthinking things. Just plan your life well from now on. I know. I put my arm around her shoulder, promising with a beaming smile. From now on, I'll do everything you say, Mom. Faced with my sudden affection, Chu Huilan seemed very uncomfortable. She didn't know how to react, so she pulled her arm away, saying awkwardly, "Stop playing these games with me. You're acting so strange. Do you really dislike me clinging to you?" I put my arm around her shoulder again, teasingly asking her once more.
Ido.
Chu Huilan said she disliked it, but this time she didn't pull away. I smiled with satisfaction and didn't say anything more. In the end, we each made 3 dishes. The housekeeper prepared 2 cold appetizers. A spread of delicious delicacies was laid out on the table. I went to the living room to call them for dinner. When Mu Liheng walked in and saw the table full of food, he asked in total shock, "My dear son, did you actually make all of this? If I made all this alone, you wouldn't have eaten until dark." I pointed to the dishes on the table. "I made these 3 dishes." I pointed to the other 3. These 3 were made by Mom herself. The rest were prepared by Aunt Lin. What did you say? Your mom actually cooked? Mu Liheng's eyes nearly popped out of his head. I didn't hear that wrong, did I? In all their years of marriage, he had never tasted his wife's cooking. Finally, this day had come. Beyond the shock, he was filled with excitement. You heard right. Mom really did make them. I answered with a wide smile. This is truly a miracle. I've truly seen a wonder today. Mu Liheng sat down, trembling with excitement. He slapped his thigh in joy. This is just too rare. Chu Huilan was both embarrassed and annoyed. She snapped at him.
Mu Chen.
Why are you talking so much just to eat a meal? Alright, I'll shut up and just eat. Mu Liheng couldn't wait and grabbed his chopsticks, eager to taste his wife's cooking. Once everyone was seated, he immediately picked up a piece of food and stuffed it into his mouth. Chu Huilan had worked odd jobs in her youth, honing her culinary skills. Though she was rusty after so many years, the taste was still quite impressive. This is delicious. Mu Liheng gave a thumbs up in praise. As expected of my wife, this skill is simply superb. He was always direct with his praise. Chu Huilan couldn't handle his compliments. A faint blush crept onto her cheeks, but with the two children present, she felt a bit bashful. She spoke out of embarrassment. Didn't I tell you to shut up and eat? Mu Liheng immediately shut his mouth obediently. Seeing this, Mu Xiaobei and I exchanged a glance, both of us wearing bright smiles. When parentes get along, the children naturally feel happy. Try what your brother made. I placed some food into my sister's bowl. Mu Xiaobei stared at the food in her bowl, a confused expression on her face. Is this lily bulb? Yes. This dish is called braised pumpkin with lily bulbs. As I spoke, I scooped some for myself. The warm, velvety soup hit my palate, and I nodded with great satisfaction. It seems my skills haven't faded. Mu Xiaobei took a bite, and her eyes suddenly lit up. Brother, this dish is amazing. As soon as she spoke, she took several large spoonfuls in a row. Seeing how much she loved it, my parentes also reached for their spoons. After tasting it, they both couldn't stop praising it.
Mu Chen.
You really have a talent for cooking. Whoever marries you will be truly blessed. Mu Liheng picked up his wine glass, observing my expression while he drank. He was testing me with his words, testing if I was still obsessed with Lin Wanwan. How could I not understand his intention? I responded half-jokingly, Dad, you've raised me for so many years. I should wait until you've enjoyed your happiness enough before I let some other woman benefit from me. I was making it clear that I intended to divorce. Mu Liheng understood my stance, and his smile grew even wider. His grin almost reached his ears. Exactly. The son I worked so hard to raise can't just be handed over to anyone. You need to be filial to me for a few more years. I nodded with a smile and said nothing more. Brother, Mu Xiaobei called me softly. I leaned in and asked with a smile, what is it? Nothing. Mu Xiaobei stared at my profile, smiling foolishly. I just feel so happy. She had understood our conversation too, and was genuinely happy for me. In the eyes of many, I wasn't worthy of the Lin family, but in the eyes of my family, I am a priceless treasure. I hadn't realized this before my rebirth. Thankfully, heaven gave me a second chance. This time, I will cherish my family. The family enjoyed the reunion dinner in harmony, everyone feeling exceptionally relaxed. Just as we were about to finish, Aunt Lin walked in with a troubled look. Sir, Madam, some guests have arrived. Chu Huilan frowned and asked, who is it? Aunt Lin hesitated for a long while. It's Mu Jianhua and his family. Mu Jianhua is Mu Liheng's elder brother. Years ago, the old man left the family business to my father. Mu Jianhua and his family have harbored resentment ever since. His wife, Zhang Ying, has a fiery temper. Every visit of hers is a recipe for disaster. Today is the Mid-Autumn Festival. They're coming specifically to ruin my mood. Chu Huilan saw right through them. She gave a direct order. Tell the security to stop them. Don't let them in. Just say we've gone out for the holiday. Yes, exactly that. Mu Liheng didn't want to see them either. At least not today, absolutely not. Auntie Lin nodded quickly in agreement. I'll go inform the security right away. After she left, I looked at Chu Huilan and said, Mom, it's fine to let them in. We can't keep letting them get under our skin. I want to make them miserable too, but there's nothing I can do. Huai really left me with a tarnished reputation. I can't outdo them. Chu Huilan gave a self-deprecating smile. Mom, don't talk about yourself like that. They're the ones who are truly tarnished. I let out a cold sneer. In my previous life, I learned many secrets. Mu Jianhua's family is far from innocent. They have too many skeletons in their closet. So I'm very confident. As long as those three dare to step inside, I can tear them down until they flee in shame. Chu Huilan raised an eyebrow. What do you mean by that? You'll find out when the time comes. I gave a meaningful smile. Chu Huilan's eyes flickered. She didn't press further. She knew I wouldn't speak without reason, and she had a plan of her own. Not long after Auntie Lin left, she came rushing back, pale-faced. "Sir, madam, I was too late." The security didn't dare stop them by force. They forced their way in.
Chu Hiu Lang nốt đét can ly.
"I see. Brother. Sister-in-law, where are you?" Zhang Ying's shrill voice echoed from outside. It was incredibly grating, making everyone feel uneasy. Although we were mentally prepared, facing that family in person still felt physically and mentally draining. "Oh, you're all having dinner." Zhang Ying appeared at the dining room door. She was in her 40s, slightly plump in figure. Her lipstick was garishly bright and jarring. It was an eyesore. No one in the room acknowledged her, but Zhang Ying didn't feel awkward at all. She just grinned and said, "Li Heng, sister-in-law, after all, we're family. Today is the Mid-Autumn Festival. Isn't it inappropriate that you didn't invite us for the reunion dinner?" "Exactly." Mu Jianhua popped up from behind her, pointing at Mu Liheng accusingly. "Li Heng, aren't you breaking your big brother's heart? He and my father were half-brothers. Since childhood, he was ignorant and lived a debauched life. That's why the old man left the business to my father. He always mocked my father using company crises. My father could only remain silent and endure the ridicule. Uncle, it's only noon. We're just having a simple meal. I planned to invite you over this afternoon." I spoke with a smile on my face. "Oh, if it isn't Mu Chen, why are you at home?" Zhang Ying looked at me, her tone dripping with sarcasm. "You just married Lin Wanwan, and she had such a terrible car accident. Instead of staying at the hospital to care for her, you're back home eating and drinking. Looking at that smile of yours, that deep love must be an act, right?" She simply couldn't stand that I married well. I married Lin Wanwan. She's the most jealous person of all. "Aunt, Wanwan's injuries are improving every day. Should I be crying instead of smiling?" She didn't want her parentiesse to worry, so she insisted that I come home for the holiday. Otherwise, how could I bear to leave her? I put on a look of bashful affection. "No need to worry about me. I'm living a very happy life right now. To deal with someone as jealous as her, the happier I appear, the angrier she will get." Sure enough, Zhang Ying's expression turned sour. She let out a cold scoff. "Give it a rest. You probably don't even know she doesn't like you at all. We're all family. Who doesn't know who?" "Zhang Ying, you keep calling us family, but why is your tone so passive-aggressive?" Chu Huilan stood up and walked behind me, placing both hands on my shoulders, staring straight at her. "You're a woman too. Surely you understand a woman's heart. Our Mu Chen is so handsome. How can you guarantee that after marriage she won't slowly fall for him?" Zhang Ying's face instantly darkened. Speechless. "True enough. He was raised by you after all. There's no reason Lin Wanwan wouldn't like him." The one speaking wasn't Mu Jianhua and his wife, but their daughter Mu Yulu. She perfectly inherited her mother's vile nature, and was even more malicious, completely devoid of any moral bottom line. Mu Yulu, munching on a banana, strolled casually into the dining room, casting a flirtatious glance at me.
Cousin Mu Chen.
"It's been so long. You've become even more handsome." I gripped the tablecloth tight, my eyes turning red with rage. I was shaking all over, wishing I could kick her out of the house. "Mu Yulu, what did you just mean by that?" Mu Liheng suddenly stood up, roaring at her with a face full of fury. Exactly what it sounds like.
Mu Yulu chuckled.
"Uncle, someone as seasoned as you must have plenty of experience with this." All of our expressions shifted. Mu Liheng was beyond furious, slamming the table and shouting, sternly reprimanding her for her lack of manners. Startled, Mu Yulu backed away a few steps, leaning against the wall, glaring viciously at her father.
"Mu Liang,
"What are you doing?" Mu Jianhua couldn't stand his daughter being mistreated, rushing forward to shove my father hard. "Speak properly. Why are you losing your temper? Do you think she's speaking properly? Huilan is her elder, yet she dares to insult her. Does she have any respect for me at all? She is my daughter. Even if she said something wrong, it's none of your business." The moment the words left his mouth, Zhang Ying grabbed a plate and smashed it, pointing a shard at my father. "You dare scold my precious daughter? Do you really think we're pushovers? Who exactly is the pushover here?" Mu Liheng had reached the limit of his rage. He angrily grabbed a shard, slammed it on the ground, and pointed at Zhang Ying. "I've been far too patient with you. If you've got the guts, come at me. Do you really think I'm someone you can bully?" Usually, when they came to cause trouble, father would get angry, but it had never been this ugly. How much more could father endure? His fury left Mu Jianhua's family stunned, frozen in place, not knowing what to do. Father had been proud and ambitious in his youth and has grown the company successfully. He is definitely not someone to be trifled with. Although Mu Jianhua's family was foolish, they were well aware of this. Normally, in such a deadlock, someone would have to step in as a peacemaker. But Chu Huilan had suffered too much. She wanted nothing more than to tear their masks off. She had no intention of smoothing things over. Mu Xiaobei and I were more interested in the drama. Chu Huilan spoke with a cold expression. Zhang Ying, if you dare act out today, I will absolutely not let you off. You know what I'm capable of. Her gaze was deep and freezing, sending a chill down one's spine. Terror washed over Zhang Ying's face as she recoiled in fear. Li Heng, don't be so emotional. Mu Jianhua knew it was time to back down. You know how much your sister-in-law treasures her. She was just impulsive in the moment. It's understandable, right? Only your daughter is a treasure? Is my wife just a piece of grass that anyone can just trample on? Couldn't help but burst out laughing. Father used to be clumsy with words, but now he's quite the orator. Truly something to celebrate. A smile appeared on Chu Huilan's face. She looked at father. That's enough. Mu Liheng kept his face stern, pretending he heard nothing, questioning Zhang Ying coldly. Scared now? Zhang Ying shook her head repeatedly in fear. Mu Liheng let out a cold laugh. Is that all the courage you have? If it were your sister-in-law, I've already been carried out. Chu Huilan gave him a warning look. Mu Liheng shrank back in fear. Then he regained his fierce expression. I'm warning you, stop coming to our house to cause trouble. I will not tolerate this any longer. You, Mu Liheng pointed at Mu Yulu and shouted harshly, come here and apologize to your aunt. Her father was a towering, sturdy man. When he lost his temper, it was terrifying to behold. Although Mu Yulu felt resentful, she didn't dare clash with him right now. Looking miserable, she walked over to her mother.
I'm sorry.
I know I was wrong. Chu Huilan looked up at her. A flicker of mockery flashed in her eyes. I hope your apology is sincere. It's absolutely sincere.
Mu yulu boyet her yaist.
A fake, flattering smile on her face. I haven't been thinking clearly lately. You are generous and magnanimous, so please don't hold it against me. If you're not thinking clearly, stay at home. Don't go running around for no reason. Mu Yulu glared at her fiercely.
Mu Xiaobei.
I'm talking to Aunt. Why are you interrupting? How rude. She had always hated her sister. They were similar in age and were often compared by others. Mu Xiaobei was well-behaved and had good grades, while she was mischievous and rebellious, so she lost every single time. With her strong competitive streak, she was deeply resentful. Naturally, the sister hated her too, so whenever they met, the air was thick with tension. My dad told me to speak my mind, not to bottle things up inside. Mu Xiaobei put down her chopsticks and wiped her mouth. Besides, with so many elders present, even if I shouldn't have interrupted, it's not your place to lecture me. Mu Yulu's face turned extremely ugly. She wanted to snap back but didn't know how. She felt incredibly frustrated. Enough! Chu Huilan waved her hand to her sister, signaling her to stop talking. Yulu, you've been playing wildly outside and causing quite a bit of trouble. Your aunt knows everything. It's fine for young people to have fun, but it's best to be more restrained. Otherwise, if you provoke the wrong person, your aunt won't be able to help you. This statement carried too much hidden meaning. With Mu Yulu's intelligence, it was hard to grasp. She looked at Zhang Ying with a face full of anxiety. Zhang Ying shook her head, her face pale. Then she pleaded in a hoarse voice, Sister-in-law, the child is still young. Please don't take it to heart. Besides, we are family. Family can get through anything. Indeed, a cold smile curled on Chu Huilan's lips. Family can get through anything. I'll be sure to remember that. Those words clearly had a deeper meaning. Zhang Ying felt extremely uneasy. She reached behind her and tugged at her husband's trousers. Mu Jianhua also realized something was wrong. With a grim face, he walked to his daughter. He pressed her head down. You useless thing. You have no filter when you speak. Apologize properly now. Dad. Mu Yulu still didn't grasp the situation. She shouted in a rage. I already apologized just now. I told you to do it again.
Mu yulu grittet her titrelutantli.
I'm sorry.
I really know I was wrong. Sister-in-law, the child truly knows her mistake. Will you please forgive her? Mu Jianhua pleaded with apparent sincerity. Brother, what are you doing? The child already apologized. It's such a small matter. There's no need to make it so serious. Chu Huilan gave a fake, chilling smile. It was enough to make one's skin crawl. After intimidating them, she still wanted to act magnanimous. Mu Jianhua was fuming inside, but he could only force himself to endure it. This child lacks manners. How can you call this a small matter? I will definitely educate her when we get home. I'll ensure she's respectful to you next time. Chu Huilan nodded with a smile. A little more education would be good. She got the last word, whether good or bad. Mu Jianhua's family was absolutely livid, but since they were in a weak position, they had to swallow their rage. Now that everything is out in the open, Uncle, please sit down and eat. No thanks. Mu Jianhua quickly waved his hand in refusal. It's getting late. We should be heading back. Didn't you come for the reunion dinner? Chu Huilan asked back with a pointed smile. She still remembered Zhang Ying's words upon entering. Now she was paying it back with interest. Zhang Ying's expression froze instantly. She gripped her handbag tightly. Her voice was stiff as she replied, I was just joking. We already ate before we came. Chu Huilan nodded as if she understood. Oh, so it was just a joke. Well then, all right, take care on your way home. She deliberately emphasized those last few words. It sounded almost like a curse. Mu Jianhua and his wife looked miserable. They didn't want to stay for another second. They hurried away with their daughter. Once they stepped out the door, Chu Huilan let out a cold sneer. Look at them, pathetic cowards. And they still dared to try and walk all over me. They certainly had been arrogant before. Mu Xiaobei chimed in from the side. If I didn't want to make it hard for Dad, I would have dealt with them long ago. The girl's comment left her mother exposed, and she instantly flew into a rage. Mu Xiaobei loved seeing her blow up. It was pure revenge. Revenge for all those years of coldness. Your mother is absolutely right. If it weren't for my sake, your mother would have attacked them long ago. Mu Liheng quickly tried to soothe his wife. Otherwise, he'd be the one suffering. Chu Huilan felt a bit more satisfied. She let out a cold huff and said, if it weren't for this family, I wouldn't put up with this nonsense. Yes, you're right. Mu Liheng nodded repeatedly in agreement. Speaking of which, I'm still fuming. What did you promise before I married you? You said you'd never let me suffer the slightest grievance. You didn't give me any trouble, but you let others do it instead. It's all my fault. A man's word is a lie. That couldn't be more true. Indeed. No matter what Chu Huilan complained about, father just kept nodding in agreement. My sister and I looked on with utter disdain. To be this terrified of one's wife, it was truly pathetic to watch. Once Chu Huilan had vented, she felt better. She picked up her glass and took a sip of water. Then, she announced in a chilling voice, I'm done spoiling them. They're getting far too arrogant. If we keep putting up with them, who knows what they'll try next. Then we won't spoil them anymore. Mu Liheng gently patted her back. Calm down. Don't let the anger ruin your health. Chu Huilan didn't say anything more. She took a few more sips of water and left. Father followed shortly after. Only my sister and I were left in the dining room. I picked up some food and placed it in Jumei's bowl, speaking to her in a gentle tone. You're at the age where you're still growing. Eat more of the nutritious stuff. Brother, I'm already full. Even though she said that, she still picked up her chopsticks and ate it. After she swallowed the food, she hesitated for a moment before speaking. Brother, why was Uncle so afraid of Mom just now? My hand paused for a moment as I pulled back and let out a long sigh. It's better if you don't know about this. Brother, I'm already grown up. Mu Xiaobei looked a bit annoyed. Children at that age hate nothing more than being treated like kids. One look at her and I understood. I gently placed my chopsticks on the rest, locked my hands behind my head, and stared at the ceiling. Memories of my previous life flooded back. Mom suffered immensely from a young age. Losing both parentes, she endured hardships that we can hardly even imagine. But as you know, she is incredibly strong. No matter the struggle, she carved out her own path. Do you know the Feng Yuan group? I turned my head to look at Mu Xiaobei. Mu Xiaobei shook her head, looking confused. It's normal that you don't. That corporation moved away over a decade ago. Back then, Mom managed that corporation. I paused for a moment, then continued. The owner of that group was very mysterious. No one knew their true identity. Later, some business disputes broke out, and she was the one in charge at the time. Just try to imagine it. To be able to run things independently there, while the power behind it remains a secret to this day. That's proof of how powerful her background was. Mom was scouted by the top brass and given immense responsibility. They ensured she got out safely before things went south, and helped her wipe the slate clean. It just goes to show how capable she truly is. Mu Xiaobei stared at me in a daze, clearly shaken by what I just said, unable to process it all at once. I had actually omitted many details, and kept my words vague. Chu Huilan was a legendary figure in her youth, though her methods were ruthless and decisive. I knew I couldn't tell my sister everything, but she insisted on knowing, so I only shared what I could. So you mean when Mom was young, she was... Mu Xiaobei struggled to find the right word. I sighed softly and filled in the blank. The big boss. In short, she was someone you never mess with. That's why after Mom lost her temper, Aunt was so terrified. If Mom had truly wanted to act, Mu Yulu wouldn't even know how she died. Mu Xiaobei's expression darkened slightly. She didn't know how to respond. Although Zhang Ying often called Mother harsh, she never dared mention this side of her. She didn't dare offend Mother. My sister, naturally, had been kept in the dark. I chose to tell her this now, because I didn't want her hearing it from others. Others would inevitably twist the truth. I feared it would poison her relationship with Mom. Just remember one thing, no matter what Mom went through in the past, she is not a bad person. At least to us, she absolutely isn't. My expression grew more solemn as I spoke. Before my rebirth, my sister had heard some malicious gossip. She came home and had a vicious fight with Mother. Her words were sharp and cruel, relentlessly rubbing salt into Mother's wounds. Chu Huilan refused to show weakness, nor did she want to dig up the past to explain. The two of them eventually reached a total breaking point. So after coming back to this life, I will never let that tragedy repeat itself. Brother, I'll remember that. I promise. Mu Xiaobei had always been obedient to me. She looked at me with pure innocence. I reached out and ruffled her hair. Good girl. Brother, are you still going to the hospital to care for her? Love brains are beyond saving. After several failed attempts to persuade me, Mu Xiaobei had finally given up. But now I gave her a different answer. She wondered if she had misheard me. I know I'm not happy with her. I've completely come to my senses. We'll be getting a divorce sooner or later. Stop worrying about me from now on. I looked at her with a face full of helplessness. Brother, are you really serious? The girl's eyes grew brighter, like the most dazzling stars in the sky, so beautiful it made my breath hitch. I smiled and nodded. That's wonderful. I'm just glad you've finally realized it. Mu Xiaobei let out a relaxed smile. If you hadn't come to your senses, I wouldn't have been able to stop myself from teaching her a lesson. You little brat. You actually dare to say that? I raised my hand and gave her a light smack on the head. Mu Xiaobei rubbed the spot where I hit her, and let out a few silly giggles. I was just joking. I pursed my lips tightly. My expression became incredibly complex. A joke? I knew she was absolutely serious. Before my rebirth, once, I went home to pick up some things. Passing my sister's room, I noticed the door was ajar. I saw her sitting at her desk, secretly writing something. Driven by curiosity, I pushed the door open and walked in. She frantically swept the papers into the drawer. She turned and saw it was me. A flash of panic crossed her face. I walked over and pulled open the drawer. It was actually a letter of confrontation. She wanted to confront Lin Wanwan face to face. Do you have a death wish? Brother, please let me explain. I can't stand seeing you degrade yourself like this. I just wanted to push her away from you. You don't need to interfere in my life. I'm telling Mom about this. I'm confiscating this letter. Later, she cried and explained a great deal. I can't remember the details clearly now, but it was mostly that she did it for my own good. From that day on, we siblings rarely spoke to each other. Back then, Lin Wanwan was the most important person to me. My sister's attempt to hurt her was enough to fuel my resentment, leading me to deliberately distance myself from her. Brother, Why did you suddenly stop talking? Mu Xiaobei snapped me out of my memories. I looked at the sister before me and spoke with a bitter smile. You are really too naive. Everyone else praises me for being smart. Why are you the only one calling me naive? Mu Xiaobei looked completely frustrated. Because I've seen right through you. I stood up with a smile. Alright, let's get out of here quickly, so the auntie can finish cleaning up early, and get home in time for the Mid-Autumn Festival. Okay. My sibling and I walked out of the dining room. Seeing that our parentiers weren't in the living room, I didn't bother going to find them. The sunlight outside was just perfect. The two of us brewed some tea and sat in the courtyard. I leaned back comfortably in my chair, squinting my eyes in the warm sun. Being full and hydrated makes it easy to feel sleepy. Just as I was about to take a short nap, the phone in my pocket started vibrating. I clicked my tongue in annoyance. I had a feeling it was the hospital calling. I didn't want to pull it out and answer at all. I rolled over, planning to ignore it, but the caller was incredibly persistent. They kept calling without stop since I didn't answer. The vibration was starting to get on my nerves. With a frown, I finally pulled out the phone. As expected, it was Su Jiachi. No need to think, Lin Wanwan was definitely behind this. My expression turned grim. I answered the phone, my voice cold. What instructions does your boss have for me? President Lin wants you back at the hospital as soon as possible. She needs someone to take care of her. Is the caregiver asleep? I bolted upright from the lounge chair, unable to hide the rage on my face. Put it on speakerphone now. It's already on. Lin Wanwan, this woman is really too much. Why make Su Jiachi relay the message? Did she become mute the moment I left?
Fine. Lin Wanwan.
Just fine, Lin Wanwan. You better listen up carefully. I took a deep breath. Your mother hired a professional caregiver, and that caregiver is fast asleep next door doing nothing. Anyone would think you're keeping her as a mistress. You're the one in the accident, yet she's the one enjoying a luxury life. I know. Of course I know you're aware. I'm not an idiot. The rage in my heart surged to my head. Paying for a caregiver just to let them slack off, while you don't give me a single penny. Treating me like a slave every single day. I just want to ask you, do you even see me as a human being? You're human, so naturally I see you as one. Lin Wanwan's voice was very low, sounding like she had just woken up. Sure enough, the next second she let out a yawn. I was about to explode with rage. Hearing that yawn, I completely snapped. Lin Wanwan, listen to me very carefully. If you want me to keep serving you, it's absolutely impossible. The moment I finished speaking, I hung up the phone without hesitation. Mu Xiaobei heard everything from the side, asking with a face full of anger, Brother, you've been taking care of her for so many days. Wasn't it just me doing everything? I threw the phone onto the chair. Hands on hips, I said angrily, they just don't want me to have a moment's peace. I could tolerate that, but hiring a caregiver just to sleep next door. Who exactly are they trying to disgust? Aren't they just trying to disgust you? Chu Huilan's smiling voice came from behind. I whipped around to look at her, pouting my lips in grievance. The Lin family is too evil, evil to the very bone. Chu Huilan smiled without speaking. She walked up to me and held up her phone, a record of a recent transfer. You know what this is about, right? I stared at the amount on the phone, 2000.00. My eyes widened in shock. This couldn't be from Lin Wanwan? Yes. Chu Huilan put away the phone, and her smile vanished at the same time. Now go back to the hospital immediately. Mom, you sold me out for this little bit of money? I felt like I was falling apart. This little bit of money? Chu Huilan let out a cold laugh. Even if I sold you, you wouldn't even be worth 30 million. Uncle Chen, send him back to the hospital right now. After saying that, Chu Huilan turned and went back inside. My face was full of frustration. Since things have come to this, even if I don't want to go back, I have to. I guess the one who pays the bills is the boss. Returning to the hospital room, I still had a fire of anger in my heart. I started intentionally ignoring Lin Wanwan again. Lin Wanwan was also very annoyed. Paid the money, and this is the service attitude? The two of us fell into a cold war once again, until the doctor finished the checkup and said she'd be able to move freely soon. I couldn't sit still anymore. She'll fully recover sooner or later. Once she's back on her feet, she'll definitely get her revenge on me. Watching the bandages on her body decrease, I was so worried I couldn't even eat, and my sleep was incredibly restless. Countless times, I thought about waiting until she slept and giving her a couple of whacks with a club. Lin Wanwan finally had enough. Having someone next to her who always wanted to harm her. Being on guard every day is exhausting for anyone. Finally, one day, the doctor said she could start rehabilitation. She looked at me sighing by the window. As long as you help me with my rehab, once I'm successfully discharged, I'll never mention the past again. Although she didn't say it explicitly, it was enough for me to get the point. But I still felt uneasy. I rushed to her bedside, staring intensely at her. Are you sure you won't retaliate after you're discharged? Lin Wanwan grit her teeth hard. I'm sure. The dignified CEO of the Lin Group, bullied while lying in a hospital bed, and having to swallow her anger without reacting. The level of humiliation is unimaginable. Whether she actually felt stifled or not, I didn't really know. All I knew was that I was very happy right now. Doing something bad without paying the price. This feeling is absolutely wonderful. The worry in my heart vanished in an instant. I felt much lighter. You must be thirsty, right? In a great mood, I was finally willing to give her a smile. I'll go get you a glass of warm water. Lin Wanwan's eyes flickered. She spoke up glumly with a request. Add some honey to it for me. There's a phrase, give them an inch and they'll take a mile. My eyelid twitched violently. The smile on my face faded. Where am I supposed to get honey for you? There's a supermarket downstairs. I'm not going. I don't want to move. My tolerance for her is extremely low. She realized this once again. She scowled in frustration. What are you scowling for? I felt even more annoyed. I'm not your exclusive caregiver, and definitely not your private nanny. It's not like I have to do whatever you want me to do. Talk about taking an inch and wanting a mile. Adding honey just to drink some water? Back when you stayed up late working overtime, why didn't I see you taking care of your health? I was a fool back then. She didn't even care for her own body, yet I insisted on nagging her for her own good. In the end, I was told I was meddling, and told to get as far away as possible. Lin Wanwan lowered her gaze. She remained silent, saying nothing. Was she really that excessive? No wonder she started doubting herself. Even if she has a cold personality, it doesn't mean she's ungrateful. When faced with someone's kindness, she usually wouldn't refuse, and certainly wouldn't be cold-faced. I saw her staying silent, not knowing what she was thinking. I rolled my eyes hard. I turned and walked to the water dispenser. I filled a glass with warm water and came back. I handed it directly to Lin Wanwan. Drink it yourself. Her left hand wasn't badly injured. After resting for so many days, it was almost healed. Only eating was truly inconvenient, which required me to help feed her. But small things like drinking or grabbing items, she could easily do herself. Lin Wanwan reached out and took the glass. She tilted her head and took 2 small sips. She placed the glass on the nightstand. I had just happened to leave my phone there. The screen was lit up. I forgot to turn it off. Lin Wanwan couldn't help but see it. The name Su Juchi at the top of the chat interface made her brow twitch violently. These two actually dared to say they weren't close. They were practically lying to a ghost. She took 2 deep breaths. After lying down, she tried to ask calmly. You and Su Juchi knew each other before, right? She had asked this question countless times. I was truly sick of hearing it. Why are you so obsessed with this? Is there something wrong with you? Lin Wanwan also felt there was something wrong with herself. Seeing me and Su Juchi chatting happily made her feel extremely irritated. Even if we knew each other, so what? I really couldn't understand. Setting aside whether it has anything to do with you, it doesn't affect you at all, does it? Why do you insist on caring so much? Lin Wanwan pursed her thin lips tightly. She wanted to know the answer too. Seeing her play the innocent act again, I couldn't be bothered with her anymore. I grabbed my phone and went to the sofa to binge watch. That's when I noticed the screen was still on. Now I knew why she suddenly brought up the past. I let out a bitter, angry laugh. I looked at her and questioned her coldly. Snooping through someone's private phone. I truly despise you for that. I wasn't snooping. Lin Wanwan's face darkened completely. I pointed my finger at her. You actually dare to lie to my face? Your screen was on and right in front of me. I didn't even want to look. Practically forced itself into my sight. How is that my fault? I've never seen someone make snooping sounds so pure. This is a first for me. Can she take back the promise not to retaliate? This man seriously needs to be taught a lesson. I stormed out of the ward, annoyed. Lin Wanwan bolted upright in bed. Forgetting her injuries hadn't fully healed. The movement tugged at her wound, making her wince. She clutched her chest and coughed violently. Outside, Su Juchi heard the coughing. She quickly pushed the door open and entered. Miss Lin, where did Mu Chen go? Lin Wanwan's voice was ice cold. He went. Su Juchi looked pale, hesitating, as if she wanted to say something. Lin Wanwan was in a terrible mood. She looked at her with sheer impatience. If you have something to say it now. He saw I looked exhausted and went to buy me some lip balm. Lin Wanwan felt like she couldn't breathe. He wouldn't even go downstairs for honey, yet he rushes off to buy things for Su Juchi. And the worst part? He went of his own accord. This man is absolutely infuriating. Su Juchi had been by her side for years. Though she kept a poker face, she knew Lin Wanwan was livid. Su Juchi tried to sneak away, but after just one small step, Lin Wanwan shot her a menacing glare. She gritted her teeth and commanded coldly, "Get your ass back in here." She had to get to the bottom of this today, or she'd keep feeling like she was being cheated on. 20 minutes later, I returned to find a pale-faced Su Juchi. I hurried over to her, looking at her with deep concern. "Why do you look so pale? Are you tired from standing? Or do you feel sick?" "No, I just feel too hot." Su Juchi kept her head bowed low. How could she not feel hot? She was nearly incinerated by Lin Wanwan's rage. I scratched my head, confused. "I actually feel a bit chilly. Are you actually sick? Maybe you should see a doctor." Faced with my earnest concern, Su Juchi was trembling with fear. She wiped the cold sweat from her brow. She forced out a response. "Thank you for your concern, sir. I'll go get checked. President Lin needs someone by her side. You should head back inside."
He stared at her intensely.
Staying silent for a moment, my intuition told me clearly that something was very wrong with Su Juchi, and the person responsible was most likely Lin Wanwan. I turned and pushed open the door to the ward. I saw her leaning against the headboard, scrolling through her phone. A faint smile played on her lips. I walked over and asked tentatively, "Did Su Juchi come in earlier?" Lin Wanwan gave me a dismissive glance. "I'm busy with work." "Did she come in to disturb me?" She was lying through her teeth. She's a shrewd businesswoman. Lying to her is as natural as breathing. She had long since mastered the art of the poker face, so I couldn't spot a single flaw. But the suspicion remained. I stared at her for a long moment. Still, I couldn't find any evidence. I reluctantly gave her a warning. "You'd better be honest with me." "Sorry, I don't know what you mean." Wanwan remained perfectly composed. I didn't press her further. I took my snacks and sat on the sofa. I put on a new face-slapping drama. Lounging comfortably on the sofa, eating snacks and watching the show. I'd even gasp at the most exciting parts. Lin Wanwan turned to look at me. Just by looking at me, she could tell how utterly relaxed I was. Lin Wanwan found it quite amusing. No matter when it is, this man always manages to cheer her up. To put it bluntly, he's just completely carefree. It was a coincidence. Just as she was about to look away, I suddenly turned my head and looked at her. "Why are you staring at me with such a disgusting smile?" I questioned her with a frown. "How do you know I was looking at you?" After all, she is a business tycoon. She doesn't blink in awkward situations. She remained perfectly calm and composed. "I saw you looking at me with my own eyes." I turned my head and glanced around. Then, with a face full of irony, I said, "This mural is indeed quite beautiful, but I think I'm better looking. So you must have been looking at me." She scoffed without hesitation. "Overconfidence is just pure arrogance. Are you always like this at school?" I raised an eyebrow smugly. "Is there a problem?" "As long as you're fine with it. Otherwise, I'm afraid you'll get beaten up halfway." "Don't worry, I've never been beaten up in my life." "That just means you worry too much." Lin Wanwan gave a soft laugh and stopped talking. This attitude made me feel like a child, while she was the tolerant adult. Facing a child's naive remarks, she could only smile and let it go helplessly, unwilling to argue further with me. My good mood was ruined again. I didn't want to look at her for another second. I put down my phone and lay down with my back to her. "Now he's actually angry." Lin Wanwan raised an eyebrow, deciding to stay put. I don't know how much time passed. Just as she wondered if I had fallen asleep, she heard my inner thoughts. "I really want to go back to school quickly." Facing this moody, hideously ugly woman every day is pure torture. Lin Wanwan's face instantly darkened. Listening to these inner complaints every day, while pretending not to know, was also painful. Just then, A knock suddenly sounded. I immediately pricked up my ears.
Come in.
Lin Wanwan's voice was soft and sweet, full of water-like tenderness. Even without looking at her face, just listening to her voice was a pleasure. The person outside pushed the door open and walked in. It was the male nurse who often changed the dressings. The nurse wasn't very old, probably a fresh university graduate. He had fair, smooth skin, and his features were quite handsome. He was considered a hunk among ordinary people. The moment he entered and saw Lin Wanwan, his face instinctively flushed for a moment. Then, lowering his head slightly, he walked to the bedside and set down the ointment. "Miss Lin, apply this ointment to the bruised areas. After a few applications, the bruising will fade." "Okay." Lin Wanwan was usually cold to people. The male nurse had never seen her smile. He was curious about how she looked when she smiled. Surely she would be even more charming. He bit his lip hard, gathered his courage, and looked up at her face. "Miss Lin, you can start rehabilitation this afternoon." This meant that before long, she would be able to move freely again. This was the best news possible. As the male nurse hoped, a faint smile appeared on her face. How beautiful she was when she smiled, how lovable, and how easy it was to make people obsessed. I knew all too well. So, turning to see the nurse's expression, my eyes flickered slightly. I gave a cold laugh and spoke sarcastically. "Lin Wanwan, hurry up and get discharged and go home. Your stinky socks from the past 20 days are about to grow mold and stink up the place. I'm not just saying this. You look so decent, so how can you be so unhygienic? I've truly had enough of living with you." Lin Wanwan stared at me with ice-cold eyes. Seeing her about to speak, I immediately cut her off and continued, "Why are you glaring at me? Am I not telling the truth? Little brother here, mark my words carefully. Don't just look at a partner's appearance. Good looks can't put food on the table. And even if they could, it doesn't mean they'd taste good. Take my wife in name only, for example. I regret marrying her with every fiber of my being. Not only is she unhygienic and a sloppy mess who can't take care of herself, she's not even faithful in her relationships." The male nurse's eyes widened in shock. Is this kind of gossip really free? Who could stand someone so unfaithful? You could say she has money and power. Being unfaithful is one thing, as long as she's willing to spend money. But what if she catches something out there, and then brings it home to me? Tell me, is money more important than your life? In my opinion, you need someone completely devoted. Beauty means nothing. Everyone becomes an old hag eventually. No one stays beautiful forever. As for the money, as long as you can live a stable life and provide for the family, that's enough. The male nurse stared at me blankly, struggling to process this massive amount of information.
Mu Chen.
"Have you said enough yet?" Lin Wanwan's voice was trembling with suppressed rage. "I've had enough," I replied, leaning back on the sofa, letting out a theatrical sigh. "They say beautiful women are liars. Is that not the case for beautiful women? You can never judge a person by their looks. Falling for her is a ticket to misery. Saving a life is the highest virtue. I can't just watch this young man jump into a fire pit, but I've said my piece. If he's still foolish enough to try, there's nothing I can do. I guess some people are just destined for pain." Lin Wanwan glared at me, her eyes bloodshot, her fury rising to the tip of her tongue, ready to explode at any moment. "What do you mean falling for me is misery? Perhaps she did hurt me before my rebirth, but what has she done wrong since then?" Lin Wanwan felt completely innocent, feeling deeply wronged. But in my eyes, whether before or after rebirth, she is the same person, the woman I utterly loathe. Because of that, a dead knot had formed between us. Her hope of repairing our marriage was practically impossible. No one had ever told the nurse these things, not even his own parentes. The shock was unimaginable. In his naive little head, he still dreamed of a perfect woman who would choose him above all others and live happily ever after. I wanted to shatter those illusions and drag him back to reality. Reality doesn't have that many perfect women, and even if they exist, they don't guarantee happiness. "Excuse me, sir. My surname is Mu, given name Chen," I replied with a faint smile. "Mr. Mu, thank you for telling me all this." The nurse was quite shy, not knowing how to respond, so he just gave me a goofy smile. I nodded with satisfaction. "Don't mention it. Now, go back to changing my wife's dressing. And remember to be gentle. If you accidentally bruise her, it might affect her future men, and that would be a shame. After hearing my words, the nurse's gaze instantly turned cold. He looked down at her with a frown. Rest assured, Mr. Mu, I am very professional. My touch will be very, very light. Lin Wanwan's expression darkened instantly,
Radiating en intimidating aura.
attempting to cow the nurse into submission, so he wouldn't dare overstep. Unfortunately, no man loves a toxic woman. When facing a woman like that, even the gentlest man becomes ruthless. So, although he was terrified, his movements while changing the dressing became much rougher. Whether it was out of spite or out of female pride, Lin Wanwan didn't utter a single sound. If it weren't for her furrowed brow, we would have thought she felt no pain at all. All done. The nurse tossed the old gauze into the bin. Make sure the wound stays dry. Rehabilitation starts this afternoon. Lin Wanwan remained silent, her face grim. The male nurse let out a cold sneer, turned around and strode out of the room. As he reached the door, he suddenly stopped and gave me a smiling wave. I responded politely. A satisfied smile played on my lips. Thanks to my little lesson, his admiration for Lin Wanwan had turned to disgust. I had pulled him back from the edge of the abyss. I felt a great sense of accomplishment. The nurse closed the door behind him. The sound of the door closing snapped Lin Wanwan's strained nerves, breaking them completely. Mu Chen, get over here. Now. Her voice sounded eerily calm. I'm not coming. Only a fool would go over there right now. Veins were throbbing on Lin Wanwan's forehead. I'm not angry with you. Come here. Now, I have something to tell you. Can't you just say it while I'm here? I can't let others hear. Is there anyone else here? I seriously suspect she's gone mad with rage. Even if she hasn't gone mad, she's definitely lost her mind. I told you to come here, so come here right now. Lin Wanwan finally snapped. She hissed at me through gritted teeth. I sat up from the sofa, grabbed a banana from the fruit plate, and countered with a cold smirk. I'm not coming. Fine, you've got some nerve. Lin Wanwan glared at me fiercely. You just wait and see. I froze mid-peel, instinctively shrinking back. Deep down, I'm still terrified of her. No one isn't afraid of Lin Wanwan. Everyone is afraid of Lin Wanwan. She's been a terrifying presence since childhood. Her mind is deep and unpredictable. No one can ever figure her out, and her temper is incredibly erratic. Anyone who crosses her meets a grim end. Once she entered the business world, with her brilliant business acumen, a keen instinct for investment, and her swift, ruthless precision, she became a figure of absolute dread. Recalling how she deals with her enemies, although I didn't want to yield easily, I couldn't help but soften my tone. Honestly, you don't need to take it to heart. I was just joking with him. You call slandering me just a joke? Lin Wanwan questioned me expressionlessly. How did you conclude I was slandering you? I absolutely did not. Don't just frame me. I decided to keep playing dumb to the end. Lin Wanwan let out a cold laugh. That nurse clearly has a thing for me. You wouldn't want him bothering me all the time, right? I'm just helping you solve a problem. I'm an expert at infuriating people, but I can also be quite silver-tongued when I want to be. She spent so many days with me, and since she can hear my inner thoughts, she understands me reasonably well. I'm just a naturally persuasive person. My tongue is my sharpest weapon. It's nearly impossible to outtalk me. So, she gave up trying to argue. She turned her head away and closed her eyes. Then, like delivering a sentence, she spoke. Just you wait. Wait. Let's talk this through. I quickly stood up and leaned in. I've always had a big mouth. I'm sure you've experienced that firsthand lately. Why are you still taking it so seriously? Lin Wanwan looked at me coldly. Precisely because I've experienced it firsthand, and because you insulted me without hesitation. You think I shouldn't be angry? What kind of twisted logic is that? Twisted logic? I blinked innocently. I blinked my eyes innocently. Did I? The more she looked at my innocent face, the more the fire of rage burned within her. I really have some nerve, daring to be this cheeky right in front of her. Just be the bigger person and overlook my faults. Okay, let's just pretend nothing happened. I plastered a flattering smile on my face. I've humbled myself this much. If you keep pushing, you're the one being narrow-minded. Given Lin Wanwan's personality, and the fact that she wants to improve our relationship, since I've already softened up, she really wouldn't pursue it further. But she was truly livid today. Her gaze suddenly sharpened, and she reached out to grab my arm. Wanwan, honey, I'm here to see you. Just as her hand was about to reach me, a clear voice rang out from the hospital room door. Lin Wanwan's brow furrowed slightly, a flicker of displeasure crossing her face. But my smile grew even brighter. I turned around and plopped down on the hospital bed, looking at Zhou Zimo as he walked in. What a rare guest. Young Master Zhou hasn't visited Wanwan in days. Finally found some free time today. Have we? My talent for provoking people is top tier. The first sentence already broke his composure. Young Master Mu, Sister Wanwan doesn't like that title. His expression turned sour. Moreover, when facing others, you should address her more formally. Is that so? I raised an eyebrow in mock surprise. Thank you for the kind reminder, young Master Zhou. After all, you're older than me, and you certainly know much more. I wish I could just sew this man's mouth shut. Zhou Zimo took several deep breaths, barely managing to steady his nerves. Young Master Mu simply lacks proper manners. Just learn to be more natural from now on. That's actually a fair point. I reached out and patted Lin Wanwan's leg. Then I turned to look at her. That's why I say my wife has great taste. You really are exceptional. Even though calling her wife is disgusting. But hearing it will make these two even more sickened. Just look at the expressions on their faces. Zhou Zimo naturally couldn't stand it. Lin Wanwan couldn't stand it because she knew that I wasn't being sincere at all. Knowing it's all a facade makes it feel awkward and repulsive.
Mu Chen,
Can you please just shut your mouth for a second? Lin Wanwan asked sternly, gritting her teeth. What's wrong? Afraid I'll make your sweetheart feel wronged? Want to force me to shut down, right? I huffed twice, looking displeased. Regardless, I am your husband in name, and on our wedding night I deliberately stopped there, leaving it unfinished. But the shy expression on my face was enough for them to know what I meant. Both of them looked like they were constipated. So, even if you love him in your heart, you can't be too cruel and heartless to me, right? Otherwise, you're crossing the line. My eyes began to redden as I spoke. Who exactly did what to whom here? Both of them chose silence in frustration. I'm a normal person too. Naturally, I also found the scene awkward. Seeing that no one was paying attention to me, I clicked my tongue in boredom. I stood up from the hospital bed and made a go-ahead gesture. Go ahead and be as lovey-dovey as you want. Just pretend I'm not here. As soon as I spoke, I stood to the side like a sentry. Never mind if they actually wanted to be affectionate. Even if they had the urge, they couldn't do it with me staring like this. Zhou Zimo had never met someone so troublesome. Men who tried to get close to Lin Wanwan in the past were easily driven away by him. He knew he had finally met his match. To defeat me, he absolutely couldn't be impatient. But I was just too good at provoking people. I knew exactly where to twist the knife. So, he stared at me intently for a long while. Finally, he couldn't help but speak. Young Master Mu, since you know we love each other, could you be merciful and step aside to let us be together? Zhou Zimo raised an eyebrow. That's exactly what he meant. You can't come and ask me about that. I patted the soft hospital bed. As long as Wanwan says the word, I'll let you be together instantly. Zhou Zimo's eyes lit up instantly. He looked at Lin Wanwan eagerly. Even though she had been cold lately, and her attitude toward me was unusual, he still believed she loved him. How could she just give up? After loving him for so many years, she would definitely ask for a divorce. He was absolutely confident in that. Unfortunately, that confidence was shattered the next second. Why on earth would I mention divorce? Lin Wanwan asked back with a half-smile. I knew she didn't want a divorce right now. Zhou Zimo would certainly not get his wish, so the smile on my face never faded. Zhou Zimo finally noticed this, but before she gave a clear answer, he didn't realize the gravity of it. Now he fully realized it. Sister Wanwan, have you actually fallen for him? Zhou Zimo asked, his voice trembling. No such thing. She answered unusually curtly and quickly. After speaking, she turned her head away, whether she loathed the question or was hiding her inner turmoil. Zhou Zimo's tense nerves suddenly relaxed. That's good. Wait, what on earth do you mean by that? What do you mean that's good? I glared at him, sounding furious. Let me make this clear to you. Although I have a moral bottom line and won't intentionally ruin your relationship, I won't refuse it if she falls for me. When there are 3 people in a relationship, everyone competes based on their own merit. I'll compete with you on equal terms. Wanwan and I were childhood sweethearts to begin with. Childhood sweethearts, unlike you. I let out a cold laugh, interrupting him. Zhou Zimo, I can make this sound even uglier. Do you want to hear more? Zhou Zimo's face looked terrible. He remained silent. Suddenly, My expression changed, leaving him completely unable to guess my thoughts. Your surname is Zhou. Let me think which big company is owned by the Zhous. I lightly tapped my chin with my finger, putting on a thoughtful expression, as if such a family actually existed. But I recall President Zhou only has one son. So may I ask, oh proud young master, exactly which family do you belong to? His face was beyond the word hideous. His fingers were twitching uncontrollably. He glared at me with a piercing chill. What exactly are you trying to say? You're just a student sponsored by the Lin family, a poor boy from a remote mountain village. After I finished speaking, as if venting everything I'd held in, Zhou Zimo's face turned deathly pale. His hands began to tremble violently. He forced a cold, mocking sneer. You're talking absolute nonsense. Sister Wanwan, please don't believe him. He's just jealous of our relationship. I countered him ruthlessly. Am I talking nonsense? Just check the Lin family's sponsorship records, and the truth will be revealed. Lin Wanwan's expression turned grim. She is an incredibly shrewd businesswoman. How could she not see his guilt? She took a deep breath and spoke coldly. Zhou Zimo, tell me the truth. Is what he said true? Zhou Zimo's legs gave way in fear. His eyes darted around, unable to look at her. It's not like that, Sister Wanwan. My feelings for you are real. He's just trying to drive us apart. He frantically tried to grab her hand, but she brushed him off ruthlessly. Lin Wanwan's eyes held a bone-chilling coldness. Don't touch me with your filthy hands. Get out. I don't want to see you. Seeing her be so heartless, Zhou Zimo's mask completely shattered. He roared with a distorted face. You rich people look down on everyone. Why should I be the only one flattering you? Before he could continue his outburst, the bodyguards rushed in and forcibly dragged him out of the room. Silence returned to the hospital room. Lin Wanwan seemed to lose all her strength, leaning against the bed in complete despair. She turned to look at me, watching the show, a wave of intense regret flashing in her eyes. You knew his true colors all along. I calmly peeled an orange. Yes, I saw through him from the start. It's just that you never believed me. Is the show entertaining now? Lin Wanwan's eyes instantly welled up. Mu Chen, I'm sorry, I was wrong. Can we please not get a divorce? I'll make it up to you. I stood up and brushed the dust off my hands, taking the prepared documents from my bag and placing them gently on her bed. Everything is too late now. Here is the signed divorce agreement. From now on, our paths diverge completely. Recover well. I'm leaving. I didn't give her another glance, turning and leaving the room without hesitation. Her muffled sobs echoed behind me, but I felt absolutely nothing. Stepping out of that suffocating hospital, the sunlight outside was warm and brilliant. A familiar car was parked by the curb. Mu Xiaobei opened the door and waved at me. Brother, we're here to take you home. Chu Huilan and Mu Liheng sat in the car, their faces filled with loving smiles. I strode confidently toward them, leaving the miserable past behind. My happy life is only just